We're back.
We are back. I am now
Yes.
a little cartoon version of myself.
It's Cartoon Gabe and real Andrew.
That's right. Man, if you're joining us from the last stream, big apologies. Even though it's not really my fault, but Razer Razer, the company Razer, should be apologizing to me right now for my webcam dying midstream, no less. So
not just like small malfunction, like literally the camera is dead. It will never be used again. Like that is wild that happened midstream. So I'm gonna go ahead and catch everybody back up so we can get back into it because we still got a good chunk of bracket left. But hey, if you're watching this live right now, thank you for being with us. If you're watching this later, I'm gonna catch you back up on everything we had done before our technical difficulties made us sort of restart the stream. So we are doing a 64 bracket of all of our favorite co-op games of all time. Essentially what we did is Gabe made his top 64, I made my top 64, and we had one of our best friends, Jake, mash them together, put together a bracket for us, and then we started going through them earlier tonight, one matchup at a time, which was really fun because we hadn't actually seen the final bracket. So each of these rounds is like a little surprise for us. We got a 2-minute timer because it's a lot of things to go through all at once. And we also have 4 timeouts that we're kind of saving till later because we want to be sure that we can use them on the big ones. But we've been doing a good job at keeping things to 2 minutes as best as we can. And yeah, that's pretty much been it. Let me go through our matchups so far. We had Dark Souls versus Rainbow Six Extraction. We went with Dark Souls, easy one there. Biggest controversy so far was Super Mario 3D World versus 40K Darktide. I kind of pushed Gabe into letting Mario go one more round. Then we had Ship of Fools versus The Ascent. We went Ship of Fools. Bloodborne, Sniper Elite 5. We went Bloodborne. Sons of the Forest, Escape Academy, Sons of the Forest. Spelunky 2 versus a classic Call of Duty Black Ops Zombies. That was basically Gabe and I's high school. We went with Spelunky 2. Super Mario Bros. Wonder versus Back 4 Blood. We went with Mario Bros. Wonder. Remnant 2 versus Dying Light 2. We went with Remnant 2. It Takes Two versus Bread and Fred. We went with It Takes Two. The Outlast Trials versus Disney's Illusion Island was another really tough one, but we went with The Outlast Trials. I can't remember what the other ones were, and I can't see them yet. There, Nobody Saves the World versus Enshrouded. We went with Nobody Saves the World. And then Demon Souls versus For the King, and we went Demon Souls. Now we are on to Elden Ring versus Wargroove. Anything you want to add on the summary for our people who are watching this a little bit later on?
Yeah, no, I mean, the only other quick little tidbit is we're talking about all these games on this 2-minute counter timer. If you see on the bottom left here, we have a 2-minute timer, so that's how much we're spending on each game. And really the point is like make a decision in 2 minutes, like a consensus. And then each of us have 2 timeouts to use. Mine are the little gray guys, Andrew's are the little blue guys. So if we ever feel like we need more time on something, we can use the timer and or we can use a timeout, and that's about does it. Again, this is our 5-year special. We're back after some terrible technical difficulties, but keep the show rolling. And if we got 12 viewers on the chat right now, please shout out GG boys, Gabe's RIP webcam. Any thoughts on our matchups? But why don't you get us started with this next one, bro?
Yeah, so I actually gave some context right before our camera blew up, but Elden Ring, now keep in mind everybody, this is Elden Ring without the co-op mod that is on PC. We played it without that, so that's how we're looking at it. So Elden Ring, obviously one of my favorite games of all time. Same thing with Gabe, it's probably both in our top 5s, but the co-op is a little bit limited and kind of pushes the whole Souls games aren't always the greatest co-op games. It like kind of pushes that a little bit too far almost. And then you got Wargroove. Actually, the first indie game I think we ever reviewed was Wargroove. Just like Advance Wars, really fun with friends because there's a ton of strategy you can do with it. And we really enjoyed like playing through a couple co-op campaigns. But it wasn't really geared towards co-op in the campaign, so it also has its faults. So where are you at on this, bro?
Yeah, I mean, Wargroove honestly has some really cool stuff to it, but again, it is sort of like you couldn't, the original Wargroove, you couldn't do the campaign, right? It was still like a
same with Wargroove 2. Yeah. We were only really doing co-op because we were going out of our way to play like user-made campaigns or our own campaigns.
Yes, exactly.
So it really wasn't a co-op game from the start up. Now, there was a DLC that came out that added a co-op campaign that was fantastic.
Yeah.
but it was DLC.
Yeah, I mean, I think I got to give it to Elden Ring just because, I mean, it's Elden Ring, and even though it's not perfect in co-op, when it works, it is awesome.
Yes, for sure.
But Wargroove was a lot of fun, and it's hard to find like an RTS sort of like strategy game type of thing in co-op, and it was pretty cool, like going off some of the like pre-made campaigns that they had, like the pre-made little matchups that they had, and actually seeing us have to like strategize together was actually a ton of fun.
Yeah, I loved how we would be like, okay, you focus on having these units and I'll get these units, and like, hey, be sure to put your units here and I'll back you up there. There's a lot of really cool decisions, but yes, we're going to go with Elden Ring for this matchup. Shout out to Wargroove. Thank you for making the top 64, but your night is done.
That's right. Your watch has
that's a good one, man. I'm excited for this next one. I mean, I think it's one where I know who's gonna win, but I still really like both these games. So I'm gonna go ahead and get to your timer started now.
All right, cool. So Wild Hearts is the first real Monster Hunter like that I would count. I'm not counting Dauntless or some other little games here and there. Really, really fun game, and I think honestly deserves a lot of credit for it being more than just like copying Monster Hunter. Had a really cool system with Katakuri. I think that's how you said it.
Katakuri, yeah.
And it was like super cool to like have all these little building mechanics that we can kind of tee up in co-op. And then Aliens Fireteam Elite, another sort of co-op shooter, classic co-op shooters in this list. But that was actually a lot of fun. I had a couple gripes with it, but I think it managed to, I mean, I'm a big fan of the Alien movie franchise, and I think it totally nailed it. And there were like a couple cool things about it, especially with like your little class structures and things like that. And also at the end of the day, it was just like a fun game. So what do you think about these two?
Yeah, it was really, they're two really interesting games to put up against each other, because they both, like, from a very like basic gameplay level, were just really fun. Like, you're just going and doing this, like, it was a simple objective, and it just was like fun. It wasn't super overcomplicated. I think the problem with Aliens Fireteam Elite was that I remember it felt like only one class was like really doing it for us, whereas in Wild Hearts you have like so many different classes that like all feel really unique and really special, and like Alien kind of didn't have that. I remember I played as this really sick like auto lock machine gun that was awesome, and it was kind of like, I remember by the end you're like, I wish I was on the machine gun, so there was that, but still a really fun game and deserves its place on this top 64. But I will go Wild Hearts because it is the Monster Hunter like, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. And my vote is Wild Hearts as well.
Nice. Also, Pog from HPR Shredder.
Pog.
All I have to say to that is Pog.
Pog, yeah.
The answer to your question is Pog.
No, I mean, just a little bit more note on Wild Hearts. It really is such an awesome game. Like, I feel like it got overshadowed in just like a really busy year, but like it was awesome. So this next one's really interesting. Both of these games I feel like are kind of like toe-to-toe in a lot of ways. So
yeah, they sit in similar areas. Okay, I'll go ahead and get us going here. So Patch Quest is that classic, like, a bunch of genres put into one. Most notably, it's like a roguelike, where you have sort of a Pokemon aspect where you're catching these monsters and you ride them, but then there's like really interesting shmup action going on too. And it was really cool to like capture these monsters and then use them with your friend to like sort of make these interesting combos. Whereas Kiwi is just like a straight up 2-player puzzle game, and it looks really simple, but they take all these really simple premises of like you're sending mail as these two little birds in this Australian like outback scenario, and they do a lot with that. Like, it doesn't sound like much, but they do so much with it. Two games that I feel like we both were like really championing, so I'm really interested to see what you think, dude.
Yeah, it is a really tough one because I think Kiwi has such a novel concept, and it's also like super approachable. We've had a lot
They both have really novel concepts.
Yeah, we've had a lot of people come and tell us like, oh man, I found Kiwi through you. I'm playing Kiwi with my wife. I'm playing Kiwi with my, daughter or whatever. And I think that is really neat. I do know where I'm going though.
Yeah, I'm going Patch Quest here too.
I'm going Patch Quest. Yeah. I think Patch Quest, man, just like such a surprising indie game and totally punches above its weight, honestly. Was like just so many different mechanics. I think the thing that takes it for Patch Quest to me was it just like kept evolving. We kept finding new monsters, and they were like, oh my god, this guy's awesome. And then there were those there were these special levels that were like really cool that kind of like challenged you to like either take on a bunch of enemies, or like it was almost like I remember there was like a stealth level actually. So I don't know, there was just like a lot to it. Small package, lots of content kind of game.
Yeah, same with Kiwi. Yeah, I'm really glad Kiwi's here on the top 64. If you're looking for like a 2-player puzzle game, go with Kiwi, especially for like maybe like the non-gamer in your life. But Patch Quest is gonna make it to the next round.
That's right.
All right, cool. You have the Trine 5 is about to get slapped in the face, but I'll let you start that one off. Here's the timer's going.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Divinity Original Sin 2. I think we talked about that game for like 4 years straight until Baldur's Gate 3 came out. Like that was like super. Divinity on Original Sin 2 has always been towards the top of our list, if not like our top 5 co-op games of forever. Just an awesome game, and we took a bunch of time to play during the pandemic, and like pretty much did everything in that game, which is crazy if you know how long it actually is. But I mean, it's gonna make it through. No shade to Trine 5, but it was a good game, but it did kind of feel like a little bit more Trine. I'm not sure if it would have made it out even against like another game, honestly. It's
in the top 64, but it's certainly like it doesn't need to be in the top 32.
yeah. No, exactly. So
yeah, I would say Trine 5. I think it comes down to more Trine, but to its credit, like more good Trine. Like it is a really good Trine game, and those games are fun in co-op, and they can be really interesting puzzle titles. But like it doesn't ever go past that. And sometimes there was a couple puzzles that like genuinely were kind of frustrating. So very good game. I would suggest it if you like puzzle games. Puzzle platform is a little bit too specific a genre, so if you just like puzzle games, I would definitely play Trine 5. But Divinity Original Sin 2, I mean, for the longest time, I would say we would have argued was our favorite, or what we thought would probably be the best co-op game. So it's interesting to see how far it makes it here. But it's really hard to find faults in it. Like the class system, the combat, the story, the decisions you make. It's like unforgettable, really. There were so many good moments, and that was like 4 years ago when we played that with Jake. So excited to see how far that one goes. But adios to Trine 5. Congratulations on making the top 64.
That's right. All right, that concludes the first round, right? Yeah.
No, that's the half of the first round.
Right, like the first like pillar, I guess you could say.
Yes, yeah. So we're still determining the top 32 here.
Yes.
But we're halfway through the first round, which is obviously the longest round. So it won't always take this long to go through the rounds, but.
All right, cool. You got the next one right? Yep.
Yes, I'm actually, because I can't see the bracket. I'm waiting on stream for you to scroll over. No, you're good, dude. It's gonna happen any second now. HPR Shredder says, can't wait for Dragon Quest Builders to win it all. Dragon Quest Builders 2 to be specific. Yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to that too.
I love that.
I'm sure it's gonna make it really far. Could you just tell me what the matchup is, bro?
Yeah, it's Dark Souls versus Super Mario 3D World.
No, we need to go. Oh, wait. So you have we need to go to the other side though.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, I wasn't sure if we were gonna do it like the whole first bracket.
Yeah, so we want to do like the whole 64 and the 32. So that way we were like, oh, cool, this is our Sweet 16, our Elite 8, and so on.
Okay, that makes sense. My bad.
So what's the first matchup on the other side?
All right, the first matchup on the other side is Baldur's Gate 3 versus Grand Blue Fantasy Relink.
No, my boy, Grand Blue made it. That's hilarious. Okay, so obviously Baldur's Gate 3, absolutely stellar game, does everything right in co-op. What a standout. Gonna make it very far in this bracket. So this is a classic in memoriam for Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. I just actually finished Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. I really, really liked it. The co-op, the game is great, but the co-op is like a little bit obtuse to get to. That's its big problem. If this whole game, essentially there's two sides. There's a campaign and there's a co-op mode. And if the campaign was also in co-op, I would be like, whoa, this is a legitimately fantastic co-op game. But the campaign is only single player, and it means that you kind of have to get through the campaign to really get to the bulk of the co-op, which makes it like, ooh, this is kind of hard to suggest. If you're the kind of person who like knows that and goes in like, yeah, I'm okay with that, and I'm gonna enjoy the co-op once I get to it, then I think you have like a fantastic co-op game to get through. But if you're like, you're telling me I have to play through like a 12 to 15 hour campaign to get to the co-op. I mean, yeah, that's an understandable like no thank you. So yeah, I'm glad that it's here in the top 64. I'm sure it barely made it, but obviously Baldur's Gate 3 gets the win here. You got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it sucks for Grand Blue. You know, there's a chance it could have made it a little bit because it has a novel aspect to it, and you've enjoyed it a ton, and it's a cool game for sure. And even from what
anime Monster Hunter, and that's pretty dang cool.
No, exactly. And from what I played of it, I also enjoyed it, but it's Baldur's Gate 3. It just got trounced, and you hate to see that, but you know,
trounced, dude. Just embarrassed, dude. Just embarrassed, bro.
That's how the cookie crumbles sometimes, man.
All right. You ready for this next one? This next one is a little bit wild, dude.
This is a little spicy one.
All right, I'm gonna let you introduce it. You ready?
Yep.
All right, go for it.
All right, so we got TMNT Shredder's Revenge, a great co-op game in a lot of people's eyes. And then we got Gotham Knights, a not so great co-op game in a lot of people's eyes.
That's exactly how I would have introduced it.
Except these 4 eyeballs here. And so, I mean, I'll just go with Gotham Knights. I'll start with Gotham Knights, I should say. Not really sure where my vote is technically. Gotham Knights, honestly, it was such a weird experience because we got, it's one of the earliest reviews that we got. Like, I think it might have been like the first like real early review that we got, like plenty of time before the embargo, which means you have plenty of time to play the game before people are going to put out content on it, right? So we're playing the game separate from anybody else's thoughts. Like, we don't have any other sort of like YouTuber friends that we could like hit up and be like, yo, what are you thinking about this game? So playing it in isolation, we actually really enjoyed it. Like, it was fun. Did it have issues? For sure. But like, we cannot deny, like when we watch those clips back, we are having fun. So that's what I got to say about Gotham Knights. I mean, Shredder's Revenge, if you know of it, you know it's a solid retro co-op game. So what do you got to say about these two?
This is tough because I feel like taking out my personal opinion, I have to go Shredder's Revenge, but like putting in my personal opinion, I freaking loved Gotham Knights for what it was.
Yeah.
It was like one of the very few games. There's like probably 3 open world co-op games that I'd be like, you did it right. And Gotham Knights is one of them. And then you add on the fact that like the action was really fun with 2 people. The campaign, I thought the story was really interesting. Interesting takes on all those characters. I'm just gonna do my first kind of like, I don't think this is probably how I had them ranked, but I'm gonna actually go Gotham Knights here. I'm gonna do it, dude.
Yeah.
Send it.
I'm gonna go Gotham Knights, even though it's a spicy take on it.
It's a spicy take. It's a spicy take.
I will say it's one of those where it's like I'm kind of like I'm giving it a little bit more credit for what it's trying to do. Whereas Shredder's Revenge, I think the only thing about Shredder's Revenge is like it's super short. It's like super short, and it's like it's super consistent, but like isn't really trying to do much else, I guess. Like it's a fun game for sure, but like I don't know.
It's Shredder's Revenge. Everybody and anybody should play that game.
Yeah.
But if you're a co-op, bro, you play Gotham Knights. Come on.
So that's our spicy
All
one.
right.
Our first spicy
that is our spiciest pick so far. That's gonna when people rewatch that, they're gonna be like shutting off the video right now. All right, so we got Destiny 2 versus Pizza Possum. What a freaking
HBO Shredder goes.
Matchup. My God, dude.
So much for my revenge. I mean, Shredder's Revenge. Just play the old games. I love it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
All right, this
is a crazy matchup. Destiny 2, Pizza Possum. So Destiny, we have a long history with. We played the original Destiny. We played the full campaign, played the first raid, dropped off it, came back for the DLC, played Destiny 2 at launch, dropped it, came back for the Witch Queen. This huge like legacy with Destiny. Always on and off with it. It's been good, it's been bad, all that stuff. Then on the other side, you got freaking Pizza Possum, a 1.5 hour game that packs the ultimate punch of just like pure fun inside of it. So it's like, dang, dude, how do we compare these two? One we spent hundreds of hours with, and it's been like good, it's been bad, and you got Pizza Possum, which is literally an hour and a half, and we absolutely loved it. I don't know where to go with this. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Pizza Possum is like so much fun and just like so ridiculous, just like so much fun packed into like one tiny sliver of a game. And then you have Destiny 2 that has just like broken our hearts, but then also lifted them at the same time.
Yeah, it's so good and yet so bad at the same time.
Pizza Possum's like the girl you take home to your parents, but like Destiny 2, like she's kind of a baddie, you know, and like she's gonna break your heart.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I feel like Pizza Possum is like not the girl you take home to your parents. It's like she's like a really good time, but you'd be embarrassed to bring her in front of your parents because you're like, it's Pizza Possum, bro. It's kind of,
I guess that's a different way to look at it. Oh my god, that is funny.
I don't know, dude. I'm like legitimately considering Pizza Possum here. Talk me out of it if you think that's different. I don't know. I'm like totally lost right now.
I will say when you look at it from a pure co-op perspective, though, I think I have to go Destiny 2 because I just think it has more going on, like classes.
Yeah, there's obviously builds and like missions that make you work together and like all that stuff that we care about.
Yes, exactly. Where it's like Pizza Possum was a really solid experience, but like we're kind of just like splitting up and going and doing like, oh hey, you're right.
We'll go Destiny 2. We'll go Destiny 2.
That's kind of where I'm going. But I know, I mean, we almost went Pizza Possum there. You going Destiny 2 definitive?
Yes, we'll go Destiny 2. Yeah, we should. That's right. It's the right move. Super pumped that Pizza Possum almost just beat Destiny 2.
I know, that's crazy.
The second side of the 64 is already off to a wild start, dude. I love it.
Literally insane. Okay. Oof. This is really good for me. Seeing Tribes of Midgard on the board. After this, at the end of this, we could talk about where we put some games, but I'm just gonna tell you, Tribes of Midgard is pretty high up my list.
It was high up there for me too, I think. I don't really remember where, but it's high up there.
All right, so this is me, right? I'm gonna start this one.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so
you got the timer's going. The timer's going.
Okay,
so I want to speed it up.
Tribes of Midgard is a really weird game to describe. It's sort of like your Vikings, and you're kind of defending your village, but then there's a sort of like timer, and like every couple days, and like the timer of the game, like a Jotun will come and attack you, and it's really weird because there's like base defending, but then there's like an RPG element to it where you kind of have your own your character and you have to build them up, and the game doesn't really tell you anything, so you have to figure things out as you go, which is like super interesting to me. And by the end of it, when we beat like the first campaign, it was like such a freaking cool moment. Like I just loved it. Tribes of Midgard, genuinely one of my favorite games that we've played. I'll let you intro War Tales.
Yeah, so War Tales is a really, really great game where you're essentially like doing a simulation of what it would be like to have a group of mercenaries, but you can do it entirely in co-op. So there's like a lot of really interesting like side quests, and the combat is turn-based, but what was really special about it was the decision making, where like every decision you made a huge difference and impact on the world. And like it wasn't like when you're like there's clearly a right answer here. There was never a clear right answer. So it makes for like a really fun cooperative experience where you're sort of like determining between two really tough choices. But yes, I agree. Tribes of Midgard, like if you told me that had to be like really high up there, I'd be like, yeah, bro, I'm okay with that, because it's just such a unique game. It's a roguelike, it's a tower defense game, it's an action RPG, but the most important thing from like a co-op perspective is you have to all be on the same page and working together, or you're not going to be successful. And I think that's what makes it really special. So War Tales, great game, you should play it if it looks interesting to you. But Tribes of Midgard, boom, 2 minutes, it's going on. Let's go, dude.
Let's go. Oof, nice. Yeah, so happy to see Tribes of Midgard up there, and I'm hoping it has a bit of a chance to make it a little further, because it's such a cool game.
I think it will.
Cool.
All right, we are on to Endless Dungeon versus Gunfire Reborn. So Endless Dungeon, man.
Sorry, wait, restart the timer real quick. We got a couple of people joining us on chat. Let's give a 2-second like what we're doing here. What we're doing here. But if you're just not joining us, welcome to the best co-op game live, the 5-year special live stream. Bam, 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 bam. Do I got some
insert sound effects?
Wait, that's not the sound effect I needed.
That's not the right sound effect. Yeah, that's what we needed earlier.
That's right. Wait, do you hear my voice change? No, okay, good.
No.
But yeah, we kind of got this big bracket of 64 of our favorite games that we've played, and we're going through them to determine which is the best co-op game to rule them all. So if you're just not joining us, shout in the chat if you agree with some of our picks. If you don't, and if you got to dip out early, that's all right. Go watch the replay. But yeah, why don't you go on to the next one, bro?
Yeah, let's keep it going. Thank you guys for chatting. HPR Shredder, Hitsart Studios, Tasty Donut up in this chat. Love it, guys. Love it. And Hitsart Studios, yeah. Oh, man, Gunfire Reborn is such a hidden gem. Let's start right there with this timer. Gunfire Reborn is such a hidden gem. It's a roguelite first-person shooter that does everything right. There's really nothing that it doesn't do well. It like hits way above its weight, where you look at it and you're like, that kind of looks like a mid game, but it totally is not. Like the bosses were really good. I loved how you like the builds that you could have within a run were really solid. All around a game I wish I'd just spent more time with, but Endless Dungeon also definitely hits way above its weight. It's very underrated. I felt like it was one of my more favorite co-op games that we played, like maybe of all time. It has a lot of good co-op mechanics where like the whole rogue element to it, like you're having to make decisions on like a run-to-run basis that are really tough. You've got different characters that make you like have different roles inside of your runs. Art style's awesome, music's awesome. There's a lot of good there. So this is a real knockout fight here. What do you think?
Yeah, this is one of those games. These are two games that in my opinion are kind of like pretty level with each other. I will say I really loved Endless Dungeon. I just thought it was so much fun. The art style was awesome, the music was great, and also it was a really interesting experience from it being this like weird little like tower defense game on the go concept. I thought that was really cool, and as you're kind of like getting to know your characters and unlocking new characters, I just thought there was a lot to it. So my pick is Endless Dungeon. I really like Gunfire Reborn. I want to play more of it, but I don't know, I just got to give it to Endless Dungeon. That's my pick.
Yeah, I gotta go Endless Dungeon too. I do think it's a step above Gunfire Reborn. But both are fantastic games. Like if you're looking for roguelikes, they're very different roguelikes, but they both are deserving of your time. All right, cool. We're on to Ember Knights versus World War Z. Wow, man. I'm looking at the next, like this matchup and the next matchup, and it's like, oy vey, dude, what are we going to do here?
I know.
But I will let you get us going with Ember Knights versus World War Z.
Cool, sweet. So, man, World War Z, kind of a blast from the past. This is yet another co-op shooter. We played a lot of these. Funny little game because it's kind of like I don't think it was a movie tie-in, but like World War Z is kind of like a movie / comic, I think. But
the universe,
whole universe. But it was actually super fun. Kind of like rekindled our like Call of Duty Zombies, Black Ops Zombie days, but there was actually a little bit more to it. I mean, it had a really cool like wave-based mode, and then there was like these straps that you could put down. Like not the most complex gameplay, but like handled really well, and like tons of variety.
But when you had like waves of zombies coming at you, it was like, this is freaking awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Then Ember Knights, man, just like one of my favorite games of recent times, honestly. It's a 4-player hack and slash roguelite, and I just think it like handles that concept like so well. You've seen some of those before, but like this like just totally knocks out of the park. I think to me the standout feature for Ember Knights is just every aspect of it is like inviting you to work together with your friends. Like one of my favorite parts of it is like whenever you pick up like an upgrade, you're all kind of taking turns picking upgrades, and you see each other's selections. So it's like literally asking you to like weigh in on each other's like, hey, you should pick this, you should pick that, and it literally shows you some synergies. It was just a ton of fun, and the combat is super slick, just like works really well. Had a ton of fun playing this with a couple of the boys here, and we beat it and everything. So I mean, my pick is Ember Knights. World War Z is a really great game, but I loved Ember Knights. So
I got 10 seconds to say I will go with Ember Knights.
Nice. Oh, I thought you were gonna go with a timeout for a second there.
No. I'm okay with that. World War Z was a good time, but I know Ember Knights is the better game. So
totally.
Okay, this is gonna be a knockout, drag down fight, dude. I do not know where I'm gonna go. Here we go. Sackboy: Big Adventure. Legitimately, probably the best 3D platformer co-op game there is. I don't know. I can't think of one that's better. I mean, the other one would be Super Mario 3D World, and that has its issues in co-op. I think Sackboy: Big Adventure, it just does everything right from a co-op perspective, and is like so clearly built to be that way. Like they went out of their way to make a great co-op game, and they knocked it out of the park. Then you have Outward, a classic indie title for us, really like our first review video that just like kind of popped off and we weren't ready for it. Like a very cool sort of survival open world Souls-like game that was like really punching above what I think the indie developers were ready to do with it. Still, it was a little janky at the time, but like, man, it was so ambitious and I loved it for it. And there's a lot of nostalgia there, so that's why it's going to be hard to go against What are your thoughts here? I'm really torn on this.
I know some of these. It's like once you get to it, you didn't anticipate how you were gonna feel.
I know, yeah.
But yeah, man, Outward it's super interesting game. It's open world. It had this whole like camping mechanic, and it was like it really challenged you in a lot of ways. I think I know what my pick is, so I won't say anything.
Okay, let's go for it because I think we need to decide with these next 45 seconds. I'm going Sackboy. Are you going Sackboy?
Yeah, I'm going Sackboy.
Okay, good. Okay, I thought we were gonna have to argue about it because I was like, dang, I think he might go Outward.
No.
It sucks that Outward is not making it to the top 32, but like I don't know, it was at the time. It was even a little janky back then. I'm super looking forward to Outward too, and like what would that look like in a more modern gaming landscape. But yeah, Sackboy was just like, it was so clearly made for co-op, and every time they would do something that was like, oh, this is a co-op game, they would just like claps, just like, yes, you nailed this. Congratulations.
I will say, I think to me why Sackboy like definitely gets it is like it had some really high highs, whereas like Outward had some pretty low lows sometimes.
Yes, for sure.
So that's that.
Okay.
But cool.
All right, you've got Helldivers 2 Plate Up.
All right. I mean, unless you're living under a rock, Helldivers 2 is the talk of the town for even some bad things recently.
Yeah, that's true. They fixed it.
Yeah, they did fix it. But yeah, Helldivers 2 is just, come on, just a freaking game. It's one of those that like that's the game, okay? And then Played Up actually was had its own moment in the sun. Actually, it was a game that kind of had a ton of buzz, which is like it sort of was this like Overcooked meets roguelike structure kind of game, and it was super fun. We actually did play it. I think we put up a stream or two of it. I think it's one of those cases where it's like Helldivers 2 just totally nails it out of the park, and is a little bit innovative in some sense, but then also kind of back to basics in some other sense. And then Played Up is kind of like, oh, this is like a surprising concept that just kind of works super well. I mean, clear winner is obviously Helldivers 2.
I think I would definitely go Helldivers 2 here. It's like one of the few games where I have been playing, honestly, still a lot of it. Like I'm back at the point where I'm playing it once or twice a week on my own, like not even with the gang, because it's just like, man, I just love it. I love to come back to Helldivers 2. But Played Up is like the Overcooked that I always wanted. I felt like Overcooked, I didn't like how it was just like, boom, this level, boom, new concept, boom, new concept. Like obviously Overcooked 2 is a co-op classic for all sorts of reasons, and it'll be on here later. But I loved how Played Up was like, what if we took that and like changed the concept? And I think that they changed it in a really cool way. So really glad it made this list because we didn't get to play a lot of it. So I'm glad that we both kind of recognize like, hey, this is clearly a great game. We just didn't get to dive super far into it, but very deserving. So yeah, exciting. So let's keep it going. We're crushing this 2-minute marker right now.
We're doing
Next
great.
up, oh my gosh, I'm so pumped for this. Monster Hunter World versus Bravery and Greed. Dude, Bravery and Greed like walked up to this tournament and was like, what matchup did I get? And then Monster Hunter World just like,
he's like,
just
what's up, little boy?
Crushed it. So Bravery and Greed, a fun little indie game where you like, oh damn, I'm having trouble remembering like
it was
totally
a
how
it was like an RPG roguelite. Yeah,
it had like a little bit of like a competitive
retro
aspect to it.
Yep.
Very retro, and like I have fun when we played it. But Monster Hunter World is just an all-time classic for me. Like for me, it's in my top 15 games of all time. I'm predicting Monster Hunter Wilds to like surpass it, and I'm so out of my mind pumped for that game. But yeah, Monster Hunter World is part of the reason we have the channel. Our first review was supposed to be Monster Hunter World, but it ended up being Dark Souls Remastered, and we never ended up reviewing it. So there's a lot of love for it, a lot of nostalgia. And there was actually a big thing for us before we made the bracket. Like I said, only one game per series. And we ended up doing Monster Hunter World over Rise because World just has like a lot of nostalgia for us. But yeah, what do you got about this one, bro?
Yeah, Tasty kind of through that what's it called? That question in the chat of like, I mean, let me just get this out of the way. Monster Hunter World is the pick. So we'll kind of get that out of the way. Bravery and Greed, honestly, really cool little game. I like the retro aspect of it. and also like the class system of it was really cool. There was actually like a lot of little tiny systems in that game that kind of built up to like a really cool experience. So I think I would say if you're looking for like a sort of on the cheap side of money on co-op games type of thing, look into Bravery and Greed. But to Tasty Donut's question, so we decided to do Monster Hunter World over Rise. Now again, this isn't a perfect science. We have multiple Souls games on the list, even though or multiple Souls likes.
Yeah, Demon's Souls versus Dark Souls,
yeah,
but you know,
we're
they
like,
weren't in the same series.
Yeah, they're not in the same series, exactly. But we kind of did one game per series, so there's no Dark Souls 2 or Dark Souls 3 on this. But we did differentiate enough from Bloodborne to Dark Souls to Elden Ring, obviously. And then yeah, I think when we had to pick Monster Hunter World versus Rise, we both went World, honestly, mostly out of nostalgia, but also like I do think there's a lot to World in that like it was meant to be more immersive, and you're like following the monsters through like their habitats.
Yeah, you lost a lot of that in Rise.
Yeah, you lost a lot of that in Rise. Rise was definitely one of those. Like I think World was like their sort of like innovation, and then Rise was just kind of like a better version.
Perfecting the formula.
Yeah, perfecting the formula, exactly. And I think Wilds will kind of follow that. I think that's probably going to be the cadence for Monster Hunter. Like I think Wilds is like a sequel to World in a way, and they kind of be like their sort of like big spectacle kind of thing on like big consoles. And then I think like Rise will be like the one that kind of goes to like handheld and stuff like that. Like I don't think Wild is going to be on handheld, to be honest. I don't think it's going to be on Switch unless Switch 2 is like actually pulling its weight. So yeah.
No change. All right, dude, I'm gonna get you started on the next one. This is gonna be, I think this might be one where we are opposed to each other. So go ahead and get started.
All right, cool. So we got A Way Out versus Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. So Way Out obviously is the first game by the studio that made It Takes Two. And it's kind of like their first sort of like, hey, we're only making co-op games. Really, really cool game. It's very different from It Takes Two in that it's like mostly like a narrative experience. There's not like a lot of switch ups in the game.
Very grounded.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like a co-op Last of Us in a way, or Uncharted kind of thing. And so, but really, really cool and has a great twist at the end. I think about A Way Out every so often. Then you got Hyrule Warriors, which is a sequel, actually. They had done an original Hyrule Warriors, and then this one, Age of Calamity, is kind of based in the world of Breath of the Wild, right? But
it's a Dynasty Warrior game, but with the Breath of the Wild skin.
And it kind of gave you like some context of it. It was kind of like a prequel type of thing. The characters were really cool.
It was cool.
Yeah. So I'll let you talk about that one a little bit more because I know you played more of it. Well, we played it in co-op.
Gabe and I played some of this together in local co-op, but then I played the rest of it on my own. But we really liked what we played of local co-op. It was interesting how you had different characters that like could, fill different roles in on the battlefield, and I really liked that about it. I ended up loving that game way more than I thought I would because I had never played a Dynasty Warrior game before, and it was obviously the Breath of the Wild world is a beautiful world with interesting characters and stories, so it really worked well. I actually am personally leaning towards Age of Calamity. I think Way Out is obviously great, but it doesn't quite ever hit the highs of It Takes Two. The story does, but the gameplay doesn't. But obviously what it was doing at the time was really innovative. But all that said, I am okay with saying that A Way Out wins here. I can recognize that like maybe I'm a little bit too biased for Age of Calamity. So what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I would go A Way Out. And the one thing I'm not sure if you're remembering about Hyrule Warriors, remember it was like when you were playing in co-op, it would like push the system. Yeah.
The big thing was it was pushing the system even in single player, like there were stutters. And then when you played in co-op, it was like the game's frame rate was
massive frames, which like we actually kind of took it for fun for a minute, and we'd be like, oh my god, we're breaking the game.
Because you would do your ultimates at the same time, and you literally would break the game. Like the frame rate would tank. It was so funny. But I'm okay with A Way Out winning there.
For sure.
Okay.
Want to just gonna give a little shout out to Hitstar Studios, which is Falcon Punch on our Discord. Who,
nice.
Is a what do you call it? A Patreon producer. So thanks for joining us.
Nice. Okay, cool. We are on to a really interesting matchup because we have two very similar games, and it feels like a lot of these it's like you're comparing like apples to oranges.
Yep.
So Division 2 and Borderlands 3 are both looter shooters. We played the Division 2. Both these games we played a little bit after their launch, even though they're live service games for the most part, more so Division 2 than Borderlands 3. But so it makes them interesting to compare how they're just kind of both looter shooters. One's a little more grounded. Obviously, Borderlands 3 has a lot of interesting elements to it. I'm kind of like foregoing the explanation and just saying I do want to go Division 2 here. I felt like we enjoyed the classes more there. Like the mission structure we enjoyed a lot. I think Borderlands 3 was fun, and there were good classes for the most part, but like A, the story was really rough, and B, I felt like the open world elements were really underbaked. It was kind of like they were trying those, but they weren't ready for it yet. Yeah. Well, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I would go Division 2 as well. That was your pick?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I'll go Division 2, but just to give it a little bit of a nod at the end there. I think to me, honestly, what Division 2 does really well, especially like hopping into it with Jake at the end there, was like you had a lot of content in that game. Not only did you just go like you had the campaign that you could do as a friend, but then you can also you had the raid that we actually tried doing with randoms, which was a hit or miss experience, but it was kind of cool that we even kind of made it far into that. And then they had this like big like tower wave base mode that was a ton of fun, like just so much fucking fun. So I don't know, I think honestly Division 2 had a lot going to it. Yeah, like Tasty saying in the chat, gunplay is really good. The classes were super solid. Like I think like had like a lot of complexity to it. It's kind of crazy to kind of be at this point where like we're definitely far removed from Division 2, and we're pretty far removed from Destiny. And like I almost kind of feel like Division 2 kind of won the war in my mind, honestly. Like I kind of feel like
if they were to go up against each other, I would go Division 2 over Destiny.
Yeah, even though like Destiny,
I feel like it's a hot take to even say Division 2 is better than Borderlands 3. Like I think that's why Tasty was like, yes, Andrew, because it is kind of like I think the average person would be like, oh yeah, Borderlands 3. But I don't know, when you play, I think if you were to play both of them, especially relatively near each other, which I think we probably did within like a year or so timing, I do think Division 2 is like definitely the better game. So yeah, maybe a little bit of a spicy pick there, but
I was gonna say,
I do know that Hitstar Studio said Borderlands 2 was one of my favorite games. 3 was a pretty big letdown. Yeah, we came in on, we wanted to play the most recent Borderlands, and that was when we were still playing more like games that weren't coming out at the moment. So yeah, we definitely played one of what would be considered one of the worst Borderlands games, especially because of the story. So that doesn't really help either.
You know, it is kind of funny though. Borderlands 3, I think, made the list over Tiny Tina's, I think.
Which I think would also be a spicy take for a lot of people. Where we could go into that. That could be a whole conversation, but we do probably need to keep it. Keep it. But we both would agree that Tiny Tina's. Most people would say it's probably the better co-op game, but we actually wouldn't. So, but you can ask about that another time.
That's right.
So we got Deep Rock Galactic versus Moving Out 2. I'll let you start us off.
All right, cool. So Deep Rock Galactic, I mean, this is just like a classic co-op game. And it's funny because we actually didn't play it until way after its launch, when it came to PlayStation on like PS Plus. But just awesome game. It's kind of like these procedurally generated levels, and you kind of have this kind of like mission based, and you're playing as these like kind of fun dwarf bro characters. But there's classes, and like you each kind of have your own sort of like main tools, so you have to kind of work together. Like one person's like the excavator person, one person's like the engineer. You kind of have to work together to kind of get through the level and the objectives, and there's a couple different objectives per mission, which is really cool. And then of course Moving Out 2, which is a sort of recent title in the long chain of Overcooked like games, and this is like a sequel to the first one, which is all about like moving items out of places, and kind of had a fun wacky tone of voice. Really solid game. I think Deep Rock Galactic is the clear winner, but honestly, Moving Out 2 deserves its flowers. Like, I think I remember you wanted to play it, and I was like, oh yeah, let's try it out. And I remember feeling like, actually, this game like manages to like excite me even after so many of those little like Overcooked games that we played. So
yeah. To speak to that, I would say Moving Out 2 is the best Overcooked like. I still think Overcooked 2 is the goat of that genre, which makes sense. It was kind of like the standard bearer, but I think Moving Out 2 is like, if you've played Overcooked 2 and you're like, I want more of that, I think your next best move is to play Moving Out 2. And there's a lot of cool accessibility options, but I'm excited for this next matchup when we do see Deep Rock Galactic versus Division 2, because Deep Rock Galactic, I love the classes in Deep Rock Galactic, where it was like there was one that had platforms, there was one that made zip lines, and it was like a part of the traversal was your classes. And I thought that was such an interesting take on classes, especially in a world where you could like literally mine through anything. So yeah, very excited to see how far Deep Rock goes. It's gonna have a tough second round matchup. All right, we're on to Risk of Rain 2 and Phasmophobia, 2 PC classics. So, Risk of Rain 2, we actually had two stints with it where we played on the Switch way back early on the channel, but we couldn't get footage for it because we didn't have the capabilities back then. That was a whole saga. Ended up playing it again on PlayStation with Jake, actually, and had a great time with it. Just like a bonkers game where you just make these wild classes. You're not necessarily like working together to make sure like the classes have synergy. You're just like going for the most bonkers thing you can do, and it's just a ton of fun. And then you have Phasmophobia, like all-time Steam classic. You're working together to find these ghosts. You've got different like items you can use to kind of make that happen. It's a little bit janky, and it sometimes feels like it's a little bit hard to like be successful in. But obviously, like the whole scare factor and like you're all working together and have these different like roles with some people in the van and some people in the house obviously makes for a really fun time.
Yeah.
But yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta pick Risk of Rain 2. It's just total classic,
sure,
and
yeah.
just
Sure.
even still getting freaking updates, however long it's been since launch. So just super solid game. And there's a lot of, I think the thing that takes me to like Risk of Rain 2 even is like there's like all this mystery to it, and like there's like a sort of meta end game of like finding the characters and finding these hidden challenges.
Yeah.
And it's like that's super fun. I think Phasmophobia is awesome though. So I think it's super ahead of its time, and kind of like the first real, like, I don't know, I feel like Content Warning and Lethal Company definitely built on its legacy, and I want to see more games kind of build on that formula. So super cool game, and I remember when we did a bunch of cool Halloween streams of it. But Risk of Rain 2 goated.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. Yeah, Hitstar Studios, you just nailed it. That's exactly how I think we both feel, where it's like you have different characters, but like it's just such a chaotic game that it's like, I don't know if you're really like using those characters as like the healing class and the tank class and the deep. It's like you're just kind of all going wild while you're in the game. Yep. But yeah, excellent point. All right, you've got Diablo 4 and Ashen. I'm going to start the timer.
All right, so I'm going to start with Ashen since it's probably the little known title. So Ashen was one of those like after, you know, Souls games kind of hit the market and were super popular and a lot of people were trying to do their formula type of thing. Ashen was one of those. And I think the sort of like the slang for it was almost like baby Souls, because it kind of had this little like cutesy art style to it kind of, and like a little bit more approachable. But yeah, it had co-op and I think it did it pretty well. And it also had like, it had a couple cool interesting mechanics where it's like you were recruiting these characters and they like would show up in your town type of thing, and there's like an interesting lore to it. The classes I don't think went as far. It's definitely one of those games that you kind of play more for the vibes, I feel, like the sort of like the level design and the music. That said, I definitely lean Diablo 4, and I'm really happy that Diablo 4 is going up against this game versus maybe some other game. And now I feel like if we do pick Diablo 4 for this, the next matchup is going to be real slicey when it goes against Risk of Rain 2. But I mean, I think Diablo 4, for all its hate, I think it's actually like a super solid co-op game. Again, we're not like super huge like Diablo people, but like this is our first Diablo game, and the campaign and the classes I just think was a lot of fun. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think Ashen is one of the better Souls-like for sure, but it doesn't quite live up to that Soulsian adventure. But we had a good time with it. I just think, yeah, the combat was so basic, the classes were so basic that it's hard to like really push it over. But I'm glad that it's here. I think Diablo 4, like, yeah, it gets a ton of hate. We get a ton of hate for even liking it at all. But and obviously it's gone through. This funny thing is, of course, even with big Diablo fans, is even they'll say like it's had good seasons, had bad seasons, but. Yeah, I think it was a really solid co-op title that we had a great time with. There's just no denying it. I mean, we can try and pretend like we didn't, but we had a great time. So, sorry that upsets people, but we had fun with it. I don't know what you want from us. Okay, next matchup. Overcooked 2, an absolute goated co-op game. People all the time are like, it's one of those games where, you know, we see like these other channels that will talk about like their top 10 co-op games, or like these other like news sites, and Overcooked 2 is always on there. And we're like, yes, Overcooked 2 is a lot of memes. You got the, you know, with the bear coming out, that's a whole thing now, and that's fun. And then you got Outriders, is this game that like came out in a really rough state. was like not, people weren't sure what to think of it. It was like a game that seemed like it was a live service game, but they kept telling us it wasn't. We played it a year later when it wasn't like going through all sorts of like buggy issues, and had a really good time with it. Like classes felt good, liked the synergy. Sure, the story was just like kind of there and we just went through it, but like the actual action of playing Outriders was always a good time. So yeah, I mean, I'm leaning Outriders here, which is crazy because it's like, I'm sure a lot of people will be like, Overcooked 2, duh, Overcooked 2, but I don't think those people have actually played Outriders, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I would go for Outriders as well. I think the combat was a lot of fun, and I think the classes, they like actually found a lot of ways to like challenge you to work together and have like a little bit of synergy and everything. I thought that was really cool. Yeah, I'd go Outriders. Again, it's like a classic sort of like one game is doing things super well, but like maybe not like trying to do a lot, versus like another game that's like actually trying to do like a couple different things like at once and differently. So
yeah, I will say one of the things I want to give a special shout out to Overcooked 2 is it's one of the best games of like, it's local co-op, it's online co-op, it's combo co-op, it's got shared progression. It's like, it does all of those things. And like no other Overcooked like has lived up to that level that Overcooked 2 got to. So you know, special shout outs to it, but like, I guess maybe it's just not our kind of co-op game. We like things that are a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
Okay, before we move on to the next round, I want to
we got some
first off say, what is up to Gimbly? How you doing, my guy? We saw your comment, but we are trying to get through this as fast as possible, while also, you know, having fun addressing the comments. I really love what Hit Start Studios here said for Risk of Rain 2, where it's play together versus true co-op. I feel like we've been like dancing around that it's quote unquote play together. We talk about that all the time, but I really love that term that you use.
Yeah,
there.
I like that a lot. I agree.
I feel like we might be using that in future content. So like, super big shout out to Hit Start Studio. That's a great way to put it.
I might take a bathroom break in a minute. I've been down in some water, so why don't we get
go for it?
Let's get past these nets too, and then I'll go to the bathroom. But we got Outriders, so let's do that. And then I'll hit us up with the next one. But yeah.
Well, Tom M, we do have a couple more comments if you want to address. Tom M just said, is there a way to link the entire bracket? Is there a way to do that? Could you put a view link in the comments for them?
Yes, I can do that. I'm actually working on that right now. So I'll work on doing that real quick. That we have.
Yeah, Hit Star Studios. Yeah, that's a huge win to have a game where you can play with people that like might not necessarily be gamers. And I feel like Overcooked 2, moving out 2, those games accomplished that. But you know.
Cool. All right. I can start us on the next one, right?
Get it, bro. Yeah, get it.
All right, sick. So we got Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora and V-Rising. I'll start with Avatar. Avatar, gonna be honest, big surprise. Actual, like, I don't know, man, I just did not expect it to be as good as it was. It was fun. It was a fun co-op game. The world, like, they totally nailed like the whole Avatar fantasy, and it actually, like, it works well in co-op, like better than I thought it would. Like, it's open world and everything, and we each get to have our own little what's it called, banshees, and it is one of those games where it's like, you know, you're joining each other's worlds type of thing. But yeah, it was cool. I think that the story, little hit or miss sometimes, but I think we kind of came out of it feeling pretty good about it, and actually sort of like, hey, like this is actually kind of doing pretty well. I do think I have to give it to V-Rising because it was like our top game of 2022, and just has so much going for it. It's one of those games where it's like, it's a survival crafting game, and you normally think of those games as not having great combat or kind of much else other than that, and I think again this game definitely has that. So what do you say about that?
Yeah, the shorthand for V-Rising is like Diablo level combat and RPG within like a very solid survival crafting game. And it's like, okay, well, that just stood out, and it accomplishes all that. It's really great. It actually comes out in 1.0 in 2 days. So check it out if you haven't yet. But Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, I said earlier with Gotham Knights, like very few open world games get co-op done right, and I would say one of like the 3 that does it is Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, which is wild that Ubisoft pulled that off. But yeah, it has its limits for sure. It is sort of just like a basic Ubisoft open world game, but set in a really cool universe and done well for that. But you know, it's a good game and we had fun with it, but it's not necessarily great. And I'm glad it made on the 64 though. Okay, so Gabe just sent in where you can see the bracket, so you can follow along on the bracket live. I'm gonna let you use the bathroom. I can address some comments while you do. Does that sound good?
Yeah, I think that sounds great. I think this is good. I'm hoping that if you see the bracket, you can like edit it.
I don't think so. Nobody edit the bracket.
Yeah, if you want the bracket link, it comes with a lot of responsibility. I think that's yeah, because I mean, I think I just shared it. Copy and paste.
Here, I'll check for you. No, you cannot edit it.
Okay, sick. Cool. I mean,
that's pretty cool though. You guys can follow along and watch that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I like that. All right, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. If you get a sec, Andrew, can you drop that into the description or maybe pin the comment or something? Maybe I can pin the comment. But yeah. All right, I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick. Be right back.
Yeah. So Tom, honestly, you just mentioned Untitled Goose Game, and I just had this moment where my biggest worry throughout this whole process was like, did we forget a game that should be on this list? And I genuinely think I forgot that Untitled Goose Game probably should be in this top 64 right now. Might have screwed that up. I actually played Untitled Goose Game with my younger sister and loved it. It was so much fun in co-op. I've played it both in single player and in co-op. Genuinely preferred it in co-op, not because it was bad in single player, but yeah, might have forgotten that one, if I'm being totally honest. Yeah, so there you go, yeah. Hit Start Studio, yeah, love that. You got to remind me, because I know we've talked about this before, but remind me the co-op game that you're creating, because I'd love to have it mentioned here in this stream. I think it deserves this nice little shout out. But yeah, Tom, I might have screwed that one up. So I made... When we were prepping for this, I made our master list of all the co-op games we played together. And so it's a little bit hard because there's some games that obviously we played pre-channel, but there's even some games that we played while the channel had come out, but like not for the channel. Like we didn't make content on it, or like we played it with other people and not each other. And those were the ones that were hard to remember. And yeah, Goose Game was unfortunately it was the sacrificial goose that had to be the one. Brave Cave. Okay, yeah. I think we talked about that before. All right, so the good news is this is obviously taking a while. We had the 20-minute tech issue, but I think technically, I might be mathematically wrong here, but I think that we've actually gone through what would be half of the bracket. Like just mathematically, we've done half of the potential matchups. So that's right. Great, and I feel like we're hitting our stride right now. We're really crushing our output. I was just saying, Gabe, I think that I totally forgot to put Untitled Goose Game in our master list, and had it been in there, I think it would have made it in the top 64. But that's okay. There was going to be a game that happened to. Shout out to Goose Game. We're just going to call it the 65th game, and I think that's a cool title for it. So
yeah, I think that's a cool title for it too. All right, so now we're going back to this side. Before we get started, we're gonna switch things up a little bit here, because things are gonna get spicy now, guys.
Spicy. Sure.
So we're gonna switch it up on the music front here. I'm gonna share my screen real quick, Andrew, just so you can see it. Which we're gonna mess up the cameras for just 2 seconds, but it'll be pretty quick. So we'll do that, and then we'll hide that, and then we'll do that. Oh. I think that should be mostly good. Let me see. Yeah, I'm gonna have to fix the camera real quick. Actually, my bad. 2 seconds here. But I mean, any real surprises from anybody right now? How are you guys feeling?
I think our spiciest pick happened earlier. I'm wondering if people who were here during that were like a little. I think that we did get Hit Start Studio said, not gonna lie, that is quite spicy. I think that was for the Gotham Knights over Shredder's Revenge. I did not see that coming. Like I said, I don't think that's where I had it in my personal top 64, but I just couldn't help it, man. It just happened.
I know. I mean, that's what we were saying earlier, though. It's like sometimes some of these things turn, like once you don't anticipate how you're gonna feel once you're actually there, you know. But sorry guys, give me 2 seconds. Just gonna fix in this real quick.
Yeah, Hit Start Studios. Yeah, Shredder's Revenge for sure was the one where, and then when we almost followed up with Pizza Possum beating Destiny 2. I was just going rogue there, dude.
That was
you needed rogue. You needed to ground me. I was losing it, I feel like.
I mean, hey, like I'm glad that Pizza Possum got a little bit of swag there, though. Honestly, you know.
Yeah, man, it did. It got a pop. I gave it the pop that it deserved for sure.
Exactly. So,
I am very. This is going to be an interesting round because there's still going to be some in this round where it's like, okay, said game is the obvious winner, but there's definitely going to be more matchups that we're going to be like, whoa, we got to decide between these two than there is not. So very interested to see how this next round goes.
Yeah,
and then
sure.
I mean, so technically, what this is right now is our top 32, is what we're looking at.
All right, let's get spicy here. We're gonna be playing some game music of the games on the list. Starting out with honestly a pretty hot track that I think everyone should know of. But cool. Let's get it started. Let me know if you can hear the music well. Can you hear it, Andrew?
I can hear it, but just barely.
Here, let me do.
Yeah, let us know in the chat if we need to turn it up at all.
Here, just turn it up a little bit. How's that, Andrew? Can you hear it?
Yes, I can hear it well now.
Okay, sick.
Yeah, so let us know in the chat if there's any if something is too loud or whatever.
Here, I'll do a quick little sound check and then we'll move on. BRB.
Cool. Go for it. Yeah, you good, dude. Yeah, Gotham Knights is one of those ones you can't judge till you tried it. Can't judge till you tried it. And a lot of people did. A lot of people did. I think I got like a 5 from IGN and a 4 from GameSpot or something like that. Just absolutely trampled all over it. And it was such a weird experience where it was one of the few games where Gabe and I got like a full 2 weeks to play it before launch. And I remember right before the review scores came out, we were like, are we crazy? Is this game like actually pretty good? And we were like so scared to see how it got reviewed, and it got like trampled on. We're like, dang, dude, are we phonies? But then it felt like almost like a vindication moment where it did feel like a lot of the reviewers didn't even play it in co-op, and we were like, hello, that's how you need to play. Like, you can't play this game unless you play it in co-op. So that's a whole conversation. But you good to go, bro?
Yeah, we're good to go. Also, here's a new meta game. If you can guess where the song is from the game, you get a tip of the hat.
Yeah. I love that. A tip of the hat.
That's right.
A good sir.
A good sir. And thank you to His Star Studios for appreciating the production. So, all right, cool. Why don't you start us off with this one, bro?
Okay. Dark Souls versus Super Mario 3D World. So this is going to be one where, again, we love Dark Souls. We have a huge bias towards it. It's like literally the game that like solidified our friendship for years. To give context, we played it obviously the year it came out. We were so into it that I think that we could easily say that we put over 200 hours into it, which is freaking wild. But Super Mario 3D World, I also loved. I actually played it once on the Wii U in college with my roommate Benjerong, and we had a great time. And then I played it again years later with Gabe on the Switch. Gabe didn't love it as much because it is a different kind of Mario where it's got like an interesting 3D perspective, and like sometimes that can make it so it's hard to like time your jumps and stuff, and it can be frustrating. And there are aspects to it where it's like just genuinely not as good when you play with other people because it just gets so chaotic, and that's just like a Mario issue in co-op. So I know that Dark Souls is obviously the winner here, but I am glad that Super Mario 3D World like not just made the 64 but got even a little bit more love. I think a lot of people in general would be like, oh yeah, that's one of my favorite co-op games, and not realize that like obviously there's better options out there. So yeah, that's a long way to say Dark Souls, you keep going, buddy. Keep on trucking. Keep on trucking.
Yeah, no, totally agree with everything you said. Yeah, it wasn't a competition for me. No shade to Super Mario 3D World, but it's Dark Souls, man. Come on.
Yeah, and let's just take a minute. I'm just gonna wish cast a little matchup here. If there was a Super Mario 3D World versus Sackboy, I think I would go Sackboy, which is crazy to say, but I think it's the better co-op, kind of hands down, honestly. So yeah, just a fun little wish cast to what could have been had they been matched up.
That's true.
And a tip of the hat here, Hit Start Studios recognize Helldivers 2.
That's right.
All right, we're on to Ship of Fools Bloodborne, bro.
All right, cool. All right, so we already talked about Ship of Fools Bloodborne. Man, honestly, this is kind of a tricky one, I'm gonna be honest. Now that I'm like actually
I know where I would go, but it's gonna cause some controversy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I'm just gonna say I would go Ship of Fools. I would go Ship of Fools.
Okay.
I would.
Okay, so why?
You want to hear my argument?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I feel like Bloodborne to me is of the Elden Ring, Demon Souls, Dark Souls. Bloodborne to me has the least like build diversity. Like for the most part, you've got like you don't have the magic system, so you either have like the sort of like guns and range there, or you have just like your meat cleaver or whatever. And I always felt like there was less strategy in the bosses to it. You were more so like I always felt like the combat there was less thought provoking than it was in Dark Souls. That's just me personally, especially from like a very cooperative perspective.
No, I can agree with that. I think Bloodborne is like a favorite of the Souls-like, but mostly from a single player perspective. And I think when we look at it from like a co-op perspective, it's hard not to give it to Ship of Fools because it does do so much like right. I agree. Especially from a co-op
everything
perspective.
about Ship of Fools is built around co-op so well.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement. I think it's Ship of Fools. Surprising, but damn. I mean, kind of sad we won't get the Dark Souls versus Bloodborne, but we're gonna get some other.
But I feel like we would know that Dark Souls would win there, right? I mean, I just think specifically from a co-op perspective, Bloodborne is not as good as the other FromSoft co-op games. And it's like, okay, let's make it clear. We know Bloodborne is the better game between that and Ship of Fools overall, but there's a co-op bracket, and I do think Ship of Fools is a better co-op game than Bloodborne is.
Yeah, good distinction. Good distinction.
Yeah. All right, cool. There you go. That's going to be a spicy one. People are going to be watching back and be like, what the heck is Ship of Fools?
Yeah, seriously.
All
right, cool. You got the Nets one.
I think you might have paused the music, by the way.
I think I just went to a different track. It's a little low. Can you hear it?
Oh, I think that I just can't hear it because you minimized the Spotify. So like that had to be open for me to be able to hear it.
Oh, okay. I see. You got it. Okay, cool. Here, try.
I'll get it. Yes, I can hear it now.
Okay, good.
All right, cool.
Can
anyway,
you still hear it?
Yes, I can hear it right now.
Okay, sick. This is a good bob.
So this is a big. So this is already we're having a matchup where it's like I genuinely don't know where to go. So Sons of the Forest, Spelunky 2, both obviously fantastic games. Spelunky 2 has more of a play together, as Hit Start Studios talked about, where you're like. You can work together for sure, but to some degree, at some point, you're going to be down to one person. You're just kind of rooting that person on. But it's so funny how your cooperation ends up being like destruction. And I think that's like a really special part of the experience where like you wouldn't get that if you played it alone. Where you have Sons of the Forest, and obviously to some degree, you're working together to survive. But like the combat is not very cooperative. It's more like a hacking slashy kind of feel. So there's pros and cons of both. I don't think either one is a perfect co-op game. So yeah, I don't know, where are you at on this one, dude?
This is a weird toss up. I didn't expect this. It is tough. It is tough because it's one of those things where it's like neither game is like really going out of their way to like be like a co-op game necessarily. It's hard because I think Sons of the Forest is like better in co-op, and sometimes Spelunky 2 isn't better in co-op, but it's also kind of different. You know, it's like sometimes
it's more fun in co-op because you have more unpredictability.
Yeah, but it's like it definitely makes it like a harder experience. It just kind of depends on your taste, kind of sometimes.
I do think I'd go Sons of the Forest.
Yeah, I was gonna say I do think I'd go Sons of the Forest.
Like legit. Over. I do think. Had the online co-op had the same shared progression that local co-op had, I think we'd be talking about Spelunky 2 as like a potential like top 10 for us.
Yes,
but I do think that took away from the experience. Even though you might not remember it, I just feel like at the time like that was a big contention point for us.
Oh yeah, no, totally. So, I know exactly what you meant. Yeah, for sure. So
cool. Yeah, dude, that's a tough one. But Sons of the Forest, yeah. Sons of the Forest, man, remember all those mysteries? It was so freaking cool. Okay.
It was super cool.
Oh my gosh, bro. Here
we had some big goosebump moments. All right, so we got
sure.
Let me know when the
Mario Bros.
on.
Wonder versus Remnant 2.
Right,
I got the timer going.
All right, Super Mario Bros. Wonder and Remnant 2. This is a tough one. They're both so fun. Like just both like stellar games in my opinion. I mean, right off the bat, you know, not even over a minute on the clock, I would go Remnant 2.
I would go Remnant 2 as well. It's hard to compare them to, like, especially again, we're really focusing on the co-op here, and I just think Remnant 2, like, just by genre alone, it would be hard for Mario to beat it. And I do, again, Wonder does what most Mario games can't do, and it somehow makes like that chaotic experience more cooperative than most Mario games. And that's why I think, like, yes, I'm really glad it made it this far. But Remnant 2, like, it's just it's just a better cooperative game. There's like no other way to put it. Like the classes and all of that, it just makes sense, you know.
I threw on some Super Mario 3D World music that's not licensed Nintendo music just to give it a little bit of a send off. You know, could you hear it?
Yes, I can hear it. Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, Wonder's camera for co-op was tough to deal with. And
a lot of people 100%. Felt that way. Yeah. So. And
especially if you added on more people, or if you added on less experienced people, like when Gabe and I played it, it was 2 people that were of a similar skill level, and that made it like a better experience. But when we added on Gabe's girlfriend and my wife, it was like suddenly it was like, okay, this is getting weird. So yeah, for sure. All right, dude. Love the music. Loving the music right now. We got It Takes Two, the Outlast Trials. So again, Outlast Trials comes up against the behemoth that is It Takes Two. So I think off the top, we could say that It Takes Two takes this matchup.
Yeah.
And we talked about Outlast Trials, but obviously we lost that conversation to the stream technical difficulty. So let's talk about it here, where it's just like, yeah, Outlast Trials could have been a really like phoned in, like, oh, here's just a second player in like what would be an Outlast 3's campaign. But they didn't. They like put in legit co-op mechanics and totally revamped the experience. And I think that like, yeah, deserves a lot of praise for that.
Yeah. We got that Ben bro on chat that says can already tell that It Takes Two is going to be number 1. Honestly, I'm not. There's been a lot. There's already been some toss-ups here. Anything can happen. It's still anybody's game.
I'm so intrigued to see. I genuinely, like, chat, I can't express enough. I genuinely do not know who will be number 1. Yeah, I just don't. I really
don't. But I think I think it's fair to say It Takes Two will probably be top 4. I'd be very shocked.
I would think It Takes Two makes the top 4. Yes.
Yes. So Jonathan Bennett, great opinion, popular opinion, but the right opinion. So we're here with you. Let me know if you guys can guess what music this game is. What music this game is from, or what's it from?
I don't even know what game this is.
This is a good one. This is a good one. It's such a bomb, dude. Here, I'll give you a little bit more. I'll give you a little bit more from the same game.
Okay. Oh, this is Nobody Saves the World. Just in time, bro. Okay, start. I'll get the timer going. Lead us in, bro.
All right. Nobody Saves the World. Dude, this game is awesome. This is a tough one because it's like it's kind of like a battle that we've had a couple times here now, where it's like a really solid co-op game versus a co-op game that's kind of near and dear to our hearts type of thing, but maybe not as good in like a pure co-op sense. Oof, I don't know where to go with this one.
I know. Do I want to break my own heart and say like Nobody Saves the World is probably the better co-op game?
I think
it's so tough. This is pure like, I know Nobody Saves the World is probably the better co-op game, but like the nostalgia and the love and the memories of Demon Souls are so strong.
They're so
this
strong.
Is really tough.
I know.
This is where it's like, you know what? To some degree, this is our bracket, and I want to put Demon Souls through.
Yeah.
I don't know though, but I mean, it's not like Nobody Saves the World. Like, it has its own level of nostalgia. Like, I remember playing that and being like, dang, dude, this game is so much better than I thought it would be.
I was looking forward to playing that game. Okay, I know. I've made my decision.
I'm gonna go Demon Souls. What are you gonna do?
I'm going Nobody Saves the World.
Oh my gosh, a rabbit, dude.
I know. I think.
Why would you not go Demon Souls? Let me just give me that.
I guess it's not as much as why wouldn't I not go Demon Souls. I don't know. I think there's like other Souls-likes that are going to be on the bracket, you know, and I want Demon Souls to make it out of the nostalgia for sure. Like, trust me, it's breaking my heart and being.
And the remake, bro. That remake was so good.
Remake was so good. But like, there is other From Software games that are going to make it further here. And like, I do think Nobody Saves the World, just like co-op wise.
It's Nobody Saves the World. It's Nobody Saves the World. I agree. I agree. I regret saying Demon Souls.
No, don't regret it, bro, because my heart was saying that, but like, you know, my brain is controlling the mouse.
The heart versus the head. Yeah, the heart versus the head right now.
I know.
All right,
It's tough.
let's go. Let's keep going, dude. I'm
Dear
loving
viewer,
this
you just
second
saw
round right
you
now.
just saw a potential schism, but we were able to mend it.
Oh man, you're getting to see the behind the scenes, how the sausage gets made right now, dude.
This is awesome. I feel like we're getting on the groove right now.
Yeah.
So,
oh my god, dude.
Well, here,
talk about a heartbreak.
Let's give some Demon Souls music going, just to give it a little bit of like a, a little bit of a
I'll
send
start
off.
talking. I got the timer going. Elden Ring Wild Hearts. Again, I want to emphasize we did not play the Elden Ring co-op mod, and that totally puts it in a different light to where we love Elden Ring. Again, both of us, top 5 games we ever played, freaking love it. But the co-op was very frustrating in that it really pushed the limits of like being obtuse on purpose and like having to like retread that giant open world and having to redo things. That was really tough. But at the same time, the build diversity and like, bro, just exploring that opening area of the lands between was so freaking good. And then you got Wild Hearts, a genuinely fantastic Monster Hunter like that got shafted by terrible PC performance.
Yeah.
Like the Katakuri system and like building our own little networks and all that crap was so good. I mean, I know where I'm gonna go because there's an important part of Wild Hearts that I sometimes forget. Is that at the end of that game, the difficulty spikes were so beyond annoying.
Yeah.
That it's like, oh yeah, I gotta go Elden Ring because of that. But
no, I mean, I gotta go Elden Ring too. I think, again, I think it's one of those things where like when you're talking about a game and you're kind of talking about like the highs and lows, and Elden Ring just had so many highs that like do make up for the fact that like the co-op doesn't work as well as you want it to. Whereas
it was hard to play together because we were like genuinely like, oh, we got to go back and do this. Like, make sure you're not past this, and it was not easy to do it together necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas with Wild Hearts, it's like one of those games where it's like, yeah, some of the lows in that game were like, oh my god, I'm just trying to get past this freaking boss, dude. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but Wild Hearts. Yeah, if you're like, I like Monster Hunter games, what should I play? Freaking play Wild Hearts. That's so good.
Yep.
All right. We got a classic a game that's about to get just absolutely trampled on. I'll let you take care of it.
Yep. I mean, Divinity,
treat it gently, bro. Treat it gently.
Divinity Original Sin 2. I mean, you're hearing one aspect of its mastery, this amazing soundtrack. But I mean, it's got to be this, obviously. Patch Quest, I'll give it some flowers though. It's like one of those genre vomits, if you've seen one of our recent videos, where it's just like it's a monster taming, and then there's like base building, and it's a roguelite, and there's all these different aspects to it. The monster taming aspect is really, really cool, and it works really well in co-op. It's like this fun aspect to it where it's like you literally wrangle these monsters with like a little like whip type of thing, and there's actually some cool synergies between them. And then the more time you spend with your monster, you are like leveling it up, so then you kind of see like its true potential. The bosses in Patch Quest were really cool, and I think that really
they were very creative.
Yeah, it really lends its credibility towards like a good co-op game, because like you really did have to work together to like revive each other or like capture a new monster and all these things. So honestly, really, really cool co-op game. Like if you haven't played it, definitely check it out. But obviously Divinity, and if you haven't played that, then what are you doing? Go play Divinity.
Dude. Go play Divinity Original. Like, I don't care that it's 100 hours. Make it happen.
Make it freaking
happen.
Right.
There's a reason Baldur's Gate 3 is as good as it is. It's because it was standing on the shoulders of giants.
That's right. Oof,
and that's Divinity Original Sin 2.
It's gonna get bloody soon, bro. It's gonna get bloody.
I am so scared for
Let's look away.
The 16, bro.
We're looking away. We're coming over here.
Alright, yeah, let's go to the other side. I don't want to even... Yeah, it's gonna get ugly.
That's right.
Alright, what's our next matchup? The screen's obviously a little bit
You got Baldur's Gate 3 versus Gotham Knights.
Okay. Gotham Knights, congratulations, man. Like seriously, claps to Gotham Knights. You made it to the top 32. That's a huge accomplishment.
Honestly.
But yeah, obviously Baldur's Gate 3 wins this one. But again, Gotham Knights, if you haven't played it in 2-player co-op, like go give it a shot. It genuinely, like it gets the shared progression right. Going into a mission like either stealthy or all out, passing off like enemies to each other and like doing those combo finishers. It is such a cool 2-player co-op game. Like, could not suggest it enough. But Baldur's Gate 3, I mean, yeah, it does so much right. Like the story decisions, the character creation, the watching each other just roll the dice, like the ability to like be able to watch your friend like roll the dice on this huge conversation where you've all been arguing over what to do, and then he rolls the dice, and then you got to see, does he get it, does he not get it? It's just like, wow, what a freaking game.
Yeah.
It's gonna be going far for sure. So, what do you got to say about Gotham Knights before we say goodnight to our dear friend?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it did a lot more than I thought it would with the story, honestly. Like, I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And I actually thought like the voice performances and like the character like designs or mocap or whatever it was actually a lot better than I thought. And there was actually like this little aspect of it where it's like if you played like my Batwoman would get a different interaction if like you did that same interaction as Red Hood, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, it was cool. And riding around with like your character's like ability or like I think they each had like a different mobility thing, right? Or did they each have a car? I don't remember, like a bike.
They each had a different kind of glide.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. But no, I mean, cool game. I'm glad it made it a little far, but obviously Baldur's Gate 3, it's the right choice. All right.
Next we got Destiny 2 Tribes of Midgard. Hit us off, bro.
Oof. Okay. Well, honestly, I already know what it is, but
I do too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when you talked about Tribes of Midgard and you're like, hey, this is one of my favorites, it hit me. I was like, I don't have it ranked as high as you do, but then I'm like thinking, why do I not? That was such a good cooperative experience. And Destiny 2, like, sure, Witch Queen, an absolute high, but there's a lot of Destiny 2 that like didn't work, and like the build craft can be a little bit complicated, and there's always that thing where it's like the Titan doesn't feel that much different than the Hunter. There are things about Destiny 2 that doesn't always work. Sometimes the story hits, sometimes the story doesn't. So it's like, it's a very, it's a game that's spanned years upon years. So it's obviously going to have highs and lows, you know?
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's like when I look back on like our last like Destiny experience with Witch Queen, it was like good. And I mean, people were saying like, this is the best Destiny's ever been. But honestly, even at the end of that, I still didn't feel like it was like, yeah, like, I don't know, like I don't think Destiny never got back to like, I think Destiny 2 is the overall game and I'm glad we picked it, but part of me almost feels like maybe Destiny 1 was the right pick. Like I kind of just feel like
we had better memories of Destiny 1.
Yeah, like the magic of Destiny 1, doing raids, doing strikes, like I think I don't know if Destiny 2 ever really got back there. I'm excited for Final Shape, but yeah, no, I just think Tribes of Midgard has too much going for it. Just like so many different game loops, and like has continued to be updated, and I feel like every update has seemed actually pretty awesome, and like following the responses, they seem pretty positive, like adding like water and like boats and all this stuff, and adding a new boss and a new saga.
I want to go back and play it.
Oh yeah, like I mean, I've said this before, if I would be like a single game YouTuber kind of person, it would be Tribes of Midgard. Like it would be a Tribes of Midgard channel. Like I just think it's so cool. It's one of the travesties of like, here, I'll pick Destiny 2, but or I'll pick Tribes of Midgard. What am I doing? But it's one of those things where it's like, as a YouTuber, you kind of have to move on and keep playing games. But like, I wish we would have played more Tribes of Midgard, because it's just like, it just looked like it got better and better. So.
All right, we're on to Endless Dungeon versus Ember Knights. Both roguelikes, but like a very different kinds. We've got like, I think Endless Dungeon just did something really interesting where you have like, you got this character-based top-down shooter combined with like this roguelike tower defense gameplay. But on top of that, like, excellent like enemy design, bosses just absolutely popped off. Like art style was good, music was good, like so much was so good in Endless Dungeon. It still baffles me to this day that like it doesn't have great Steam reviews. It has good critic reviews, but like Steam reviews are not great. It's like one of those where it's like, I don't know if I trust the Steam reviews, because I just think it's such a freaking good game. And then you got Ember Knights. It's the same thing where it's like, yeah, definitely a game punching way above its weight. It does some things in co-op that like most games like just kind of fumble, and it just does it really well. So I mean, I go Endless Dungeon, but obviously I actually, for the viewer, Gabe played this with some of our other friends, and I obviously respect his opinion a lot and know that he had it highly regarded, so I kind of defer to you on this one. But I do think Endless Dungeon just from like a high level perspective, as I think the better co-op game.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think Endless Dungeon is it for sure, because there's so many layers to it. There's obviously just like the base layer of like, oh, like you have like a character class, you have to learn your character class and you have to upgrade it and you have to get good at it, type of thing. You have to know your role in the party. And then
you have to always make those decisions too on like, where do we go with this tower? When do we unlock this door next? Do we do this upgrade?
This
like,
resource
so
versus this resource.
Like,
should Andrew buy his Nets upgrade? Should I? Like, we're sharing this pool of resources. It's a really cool experience, actually. This is one of those, like, I mean, we're gonna be recommending a lot of these games because these are like top 64, but like this is one that's like a true hidden gem. Like, if you haven't played it, like really go after it. It's such a cool game. So
nice. Okay. We are on to Sackboy versus Helldivers 2. This is a heartbreaker. I'll let you get us going.
Yeah, this one hurts. You wanted to see Sackboy go far. I mean, I think it's Helldivers 2.
Top 32 is far, but
no,
yeah,
for sure.
I agree. I love to be able to say like, yes, Sackboy made it to our top 16.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have to go Helldivers 2 here, but yeah, I'm saying, yeah, it's a heartbreaker for sure.
Yeah. I mean, Helldivers is just awesome. And again, sometimes I think you have to think about it in layers, right? Like layers of gameplay, layers of like co-op play, and Helldivers 2 just has more of that. But Sackboy, like you said, it's definitely my favorite like co-op platformer game type of thing. Like I think
3D or 2D.
Yeah, like I would say that over Wonder, over 3D World.
Yep, same.
Like there's like so much fun to it, and then they had like these specific co-op like moments in each level type of thing. It was just
they're so
cool.
intentional about the co-op.
Yeah, it's honestly really sad that this didn't get a sequel or like a follow-up. Like, where did that go?
I don't think it sold well, which is super sad. I think Sackboy, like the IP, just kind of like this was its last hurrah, and it was like a little bit too late. I think that they needed to make this game with a different IP because too many people wanted obviously just like Little Big Planet 4. And so I think that like when they were like, oh, you don't have the level creator, I think that was what was like the detriment to it, which sucks because I genuinely think it's the best cooperative platformer there is. But Helldivers 2, like I think the big thing that we should say about Helldivers 2 as it continues to move on is like not only is it super fun, but like it is such a well-built game from a co-op perspective that like it's not it's easy for like Monster Hunter's gonna make it really far here. We're about to talk about it. That game is just really, really freaking fun to play, and it's also co-op. But like Helldivers 2 is that, but also has these mechanics that make it stand out on top of that. So
yeah, for sure, I agree.
All right, next up is Monster Hunter World and A Way Out. This is another one of those, good for A Way Out. You made it to the second round, and that's awesome. But Monster Hunter World is laughing at the thought of comparing the two. I do think Monster Hunter World takes the cake here, by a lot. But A Way Out it's a good game. If you haven't played A Way Out yet, and you liked It Takes Two, like go back and play A Way Out. Sure, it's not gonna live up to It Takes Two, but like it's still a good time. It's still totally worth playing through.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think that anybody should be like, well, it's not as good as It Takes Two, so I'm not gonna bother. Like for sure, go back and play it. You're crazy if you haven't played it yet.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah, easy does for Monster Hunter World.
Yeah, Monster Hunter World. I think just to talk about this as we continue to see it go on the bracket too, it's like what I think is special about Monster Hunter World, even more than Monster Hunter Rise, is what you talked about, where there's more build up to the monsters because you actually have to go and find them and hunt them, and so there's like a little bit of like a fun aspect to it of like you're running through the world together and like racing to the monster and picking up these clues, and like the worlds themselves, like no pun intended, are literally just more interesting to go through than they were in Rise. Yeah. And there was like a really fun aspect to that of like finding the fastest route together and all that. So
totally. No, yeah, totally.
All right. This is now here's a tough one. You get to start this one off.
All right, Division 2 versus Deep Rock Galactic.
This is tough, dude. This is tough.
This is a tough one. I have like a knee-jerk reaction to what I know it could be it, but like, yeah, it is tough. It's like, I think Division 2 is a game that has more going for it, like more modes, a story, like things are more fleshed out, like a whole sort of gear system. And then Deep Rock Galactic, though, is just like, does a couple things, but does it really, really well. Yeah. Like and it's also just like it is also a game that like it's one of those first few games that we encountered like having just these like goofy mechanics that went beyond the game, right? Like drinking at the bar together, or like
dancing on the dance floor,
dancing on the floor,
and
like
rock and stone,
the rock and stone and all that stuff. Or like then there was things that we made up for ourselves, like our own fun, like building roller coasters. Genuinely much fucking fun. I think I have to go Deep Rock Galactic. Again, it's a case of just like a game that does a couple things really, really well versus a game that does a lot. But like, you know, maybe
I would say that. I would say the thing is that they're kind of interesting juxtapositions where like Deep Rock Galactic has these like really simple classes, but they work so well given the like mission structure. Whereas Division 2, like obviously you can get really deep into the build craft, and that's like Deep Rock Galactic's biggest fault is like, yes, I'm this class that can do this zip line and has this sick turret, but like I can't really do much more to customize it. But like the class itself is just so good that like it works, you know. So I do go Deep Rock Galactic because the combination of the classes, the destructible environments, and the mission types like come together so well. But I genuinely like, you could convince me Division 2 here because I think Division 2 is a fantastic co-op game. So this was a really tough one, but I go Deep Rock Galactic. Also, welcome to the chat, Brandon Hatcher, up in here. We're just about done with the top 32. We got a couple more before we hit the top 16. So it's getting dicey, dude. It's actually weirdly been, I think, easier to go through the top 32.
Yeah, I agree.
As opposed to the top 64, which is kind of weird. Because I think we're starting to be like, okay, the gloves are off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, totally agree. For sure.
Although this next one, I think, will be the hardest one of our top 32 so far. So we've got Risk of Rain 2 and Diablo 4. So this is tough. Where Risk of Rain 2, tons of fun to play together. Just like crazy stuff happens. You just get these wild builds that you're just like, I don't even care if I die early in a run. I'm just like watching Jake have this just broken build, and like that alone is fun to watch together. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Whereas Diablo 4, like, man, we had such a great time going through that campaign together. Like, the story was so good. I love the class system, and like I've really genuinely felt like my bear complemented your wizard so well, and that was like such a cool experience. And there's so much content to go through. I mean, the only reason we didn't keep playing Diablo 4 is because we're not video game content creators. We're like these like broader content creators, and so that kind of stopped us. So yeah, this is really tough. Plus, there's like fans would be like Risk of Rain 2 over Diablo 4 100%. So that's where it's also there's that.
Yeah. I don't know. This one's tough. It's like one game has like full co-op campaign, and it's like honestly I found pretty compelling, and the music,
local co-op, online co-op, combo co-op.
Yep. Oof, this one is tough, bro.
So tough. So freaking tough. They're like so different, where it's like Risk of Rain 2, like I guess probably more fun, but like obviously a much shorter experience as opposed to Diablo 4. And one of the things, I mean, Diablo 4, one of its big detriments is like the difficulty was broken in co-op for the campaign, whereas like, I mean, yeah, you had these cool bosses, but we would just like absolutely trounce them, and it was like, well, what were our builds for? Like, Lilith was the easiest boss in the freaking game, you know?
Yeah. Okay, I think I have my decision.
What is your decision? Because I'm 50-50.
Okay, my decision is Risk of Rain 2, actually.
I'm going with it. I'm there.
I think Risk of Rain 2 has, I think where it edges Diablo 4 is also in this replayability, and that's not. And to me, that's something that like Diablo 4, like I think it got worse as it went on in a sense, where like the bosses got easier, and then the story got a little bit more predictable, and then like I didn't feel like you and I just weren't that interested in the end game, and you know people big like Diablo 4 people had issues with that as well. But like, you know, strictly speaking from our experience, you know, not trying to like take other people's experiences into account necessarily, is also just like, I mean, we went back to play Risk of Rain 2 twice, and I'd go back and play it tomorrow. Like, would I say that about Diablo 4? Not really. I'm excited for the DLC. Like Diablo 4, I'm excited for the DLC type of thing, but like, I'm like kind of like, it's not like a given. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. 100%.
Like, I'd go back and play Risk of Rain 2 right now, sans any DLC, just to play it.
Good news. I got DLC coming out this summer.
For sure. So
Connor Hale says Risk of Rain 2 music was dude. Yeah, Risk of Rain 2 music is somewhere in this playlist.
We're listening to it right now. This is great.
Yeah, attune your ears to the music. You might get to hear some. Okay. Next up is Outriders V Rising. What do you got for that?
Ooh, okay. I mean, this is another one where like I do kind of know where I'm going.
It's V Rising. Yeah, it's V Rising.
It's another game where it's like, I think it's gonna get tougher after this, where it's like the next couple games that we're picking, they just all have like so much game to them, you know. And I think that's part of V Rising versus the Outriders matchup. It's like V Rising just has so much game to it versus Outriders, and like to me, Outriders, like it did kind of end after the campaign. There was some stuff. There was the end game.
There was an end game that I remember we at the time were like, this would be fun to keep playing, but it's like obviously again we have limited time, but there wasn't like this massive pull to do it. I think we just had so much fun with the game that it was like, yeah, I want to spend more time with these classes and these abilities.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it had a lot of faults, obviously. Like the story in Outriders was an absolute joke, dude. It was so freaking bad.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty basic game. Like there was just bosses, and the mission structure wasn't doing anything crazy.
Yeah.
Where V Rising, I mean, again, the build craft of it is just as good as the combat. It's just as good as building your castle and the survival elements and like all of that. It just, there's not like a real weak point to it. You know what I mean? Like even the open world is really interesting, and the bosses you face are really interesting. There's just so much going on there that it's like, yeah, I mean, V Rising is the better game, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, we're gonna glance back over to the left side here. It's about to get bloody.
Go through and tell us because this is exciting. This is the top 16 of all time. So let's go through and give us the whole list.
Okay, here let's switch off to some different music here. All right, so we got top 16, right? We got Baldur's Gate 3, Trials of Midgard, Endless Dungeon, Helldivers 2, Monster Hunter World, Deep Rock Galactic, Risk of Rain 2, V Rising, and then over on this side we got Dark Souls, Ship of Fools, Sons of the Forest, Remnant 2, It Takes Two, Nobody Saves the World, Elden Ring, and Divinity Original Sin 2.
And that is a list of freaking bangers, dude. I love it. I'm so happy because just like you look at the Sweet 16 and you're just like, yes, all these games are so good. So good.
Dang, dude. Yeah, this is
all
wild.
Right, let's do it. Up first is Dark Souls versus Ship of Fools. Man, I mean, again, it's weird how obviously this should be getting more difficult, but it's almost like it's getting... Some of these are still easy, where it's like, I know we go Dark Souls here for so many reasons. We haven't even really talked about in Dark Souls, like, that like sense of camaraderie that you experience through it, like becoming Sun Bros together and then like switching to a different clan later and like discovering this secret path that like you didn't think was there, and you're like, bro, you got to see this secret thing that I found, and like this boss that was like totally hidden. Like there's so much to that experience that it's just like I've experienced that very few times since then. But and still Ship of Fools, so good, like legitimately one of the best co-op roguelikes we've ever played. How all the abilities like made you like sort of create these like weird builds with your cannons, how you had to like have someone who would like jump off and fix the ship and someone who would like jump to the other side of the ship with their cannon. Like you were constantly having to communicate. It really was like built up as a co-op roguelike, and they nailed it in every aspect,
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, yeah, I gotta go Dark Souls, obviously, but yeah, very much agree with everything you said about Ship of Fools. Like I do think like it is probably one of my favorite like roguelites. And I think one of the other thing about Ship of Fools, it's like super approachable. Like I just feel like it had a lot of range, and we like to think about that when it comes to co-op games, not just sort of these sort of grim dark games that we like, but also just like other games that like most audiences could enjoy. So Ship of Fools, you made it far, buddy.
Yeah, I'm proud of Ship of Fools. I do think it deserves to be in the top 16. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, no, totally
very deserved, for sure.
Yes.
All bangers from Ninja Chicken Fingers. We are all bangers, dude. All freaking bangers. Okay, Sons of the Forest, Remnant 2. What you got, bro?
All right. Damn, this is I feel like where I gotta start thinking about it. I do feel like I gotta start thinking about this one. There's one that I'm leaning towards though. Oh, I don't know. It's tough.
I lean towards Remnant 2 here.
Yeah.
The thing that's easy to forget about our Remnant 2 experiences, there were some pretty frustrating moments.
Yep. That's what I was thinking.
Where like sometimes the end boss was really annoying, but there was also a couple levels where it was like a big part of Remnant 2 is like you're solving these sort of like puzzles, mysteries or whatever, and sometimes they just go so hard on it where it's like, well, I just wasted 2 hours trying to figure out your dumb little secret that you like hid within the freaking game code. It's just like you went too hard. Whereas Sons of the Forest, like we never really had any frustrating moments. I think it's just like, yeah, you don't have like a build craft, you don't have this like intense combat system. Like the real highs of Sons of the Forest was like looking at the sick fortress that we made together, and then like those moments where you'd be like, wait, that's what's happening in the story. Like those were the moments that I remember from Sons of the Forest that stick out, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I do think there was like these very high points of Sons of the Forest of like the discovering the mysteries and stuff like that.
Yeah, AJ Brandon says some of those puzzles you didn't have what you needed to solve them either, and you had no way of knowing. Yes, so we get to the point where we would like have spent like an hour and a half on this one tiny dungeon, and we look at what we were supposed to do, and we were never gonna figure it out. And I was like, well, that sucked. That wasn't fun.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, I feel like you convinced me and yourself for Sons of the Forest.
That's the thing is I still think I go Remnant 2. Oh my gosh.
No, I do think I go Sons of the Forest. I mean, I think it's time to use a timeout, bro.
I was about to say, I was like, I think this is the first time out.
All right, I'll use the timeout, bro. Here, one sec. I'm gonna go in the back end here.
Yeah, you're good. I'll keep talking. I think the thing here to me is like, okay, man, this is so freaking hard because there's so many different ways I could go about the argument. I kind of feel like if you go from like the co-op perspective, you go Remnant 2. But if you go from the highs and lows perspective, which is like you and I are big on that, like what game had the higher highs? I think you go Sons of the Forest. If you go from like a rating perspective, these are both games where I'm like super between giving them an 8 and a 9.
Yeah.
Like I remember I think I gave both games an 8, but they're both games that when I look back on them I actually kind of think of them as 9s, which is kind of funny.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I think part of it is yeah. I think I do go Sons of the Forest though, honestly, because I do think part of Sons of the Forest to me is also like it's such a cool world to explore, especially at the end there when we were just like we're literally gliding through the air. It's like so cool. Or we're going on our what's it called on our golf carts, and like we didn't even scratch the surface of the base building, and it could have been even better, right? And there were still mysteries that we wanted to discover. And yeah, I just think like piecing the story together was like really, really cool. Like it was like, oh dude, we go here, we go there. And the beginning of the game I thought was really great, where it's like it's sending you to all the little pings, and it's like when we first got our first gun, and it's like it's really streamlined at the beginning. Where I do
it only had one moment where we were like we didn't know what to do, but we were conditioned from the forest to where we expected that to happen more, and when it did finally happen, we knew exactly like this is one of those moments we're just gonna look it up, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas I do think Remnant 2, brilliant game, but it is another Souls-like, you know. And again, Sons of the Forest is also another survival crafting game, but I do think Sons of the Forest kind of goes the extra mile a little bit, I guess.
I mean, Remnant 2 is a Souls-like that has guns and this like really cool world system, so I do think it does a really good job differentiating itself.
No,
I don't feel like there's another game like Remnant 2. You know what I mean?
No, that's.
And I also don't think there's another game like Sons of the Forest. I think they're very unique. I think they both do something really cool with what they are.
Yeah. No, I do think that too.
I guess it's part of it is also like when I went into this, I would not have put Sons of the Forest above Remnant 2, but I'm also like in the moment, it makes sense, you know.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, again, from
That's the beauty of the bracket. It's the beauty of the bracket.
From a purely cooperative perspective, it's tough. I mean, I'm curious from the chat. Can we get some opinions from the chat? Like, who's team Remnant? Who's team?
This might be the chat's chance to push us in a direction, man.
Honestly,
I don't know if we probably have anybody in the chat that's played both of these games.
It's tough because I do think like I'm kind of torn on the co-op of both of them. Both are like fun games, but it's like even in Remnant 2 though, I didn't feel like the classes had like that much synergy between the two of us. You know, like
yeah, that's true. Like, I mean, you're not buffing each other. You're not necessarily healing each other.
Yeah, like you're kind of doing your thing. I'm doing my thing. We're like communicating on positioning for sure. We got one vote for Suns.
Gimli says Suns.
Yeah, Gimli says Suns. Anyone else say Suns? Anyone else say Remnant? So yeah, it's like there's part of me that. And then again, Sons of the Forest is kind of the same thing, though. There's not that much that is like, oh yeah, this is like a specific co-op system. You know what I'm saying?
It's just easier to play with each other because of the survivability, the horror.
Like you are keeping each other alive though a lot, and like you do kind of like you were like our cook.
The building aspect is very cooperative.
Yeah, the building was it was very cooperative. But it's like I mean everything you're kind of doing to survive. You know, like you were finding fish for us and keeping us alive, type of thing, and like so. Yeah, I do kind of think I go Suns. It's very narrow though, honestly. I do think Suns kind of edges it over though.
Yeah, I think let's go Suns. It's just kind of wild because it's just like, yeah, when I thought top 10 co-op games of all time, I would think Remnant 2 is there.
Yeah.
But Sons of the Forest, yeah, I mean, yeah. That's just crazy. That's just crazy. I mean, we would have last year in our top 10 co-op games, we had Remnant 2 much higher than Sons of the Forest.
Yeah. But that was also before we played 1.0 and got like the full vision of the game.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and I do think that
this is why this bracket's so interesting because it makes us really go through like the whole perspective on it all. So yeah, I love it. I love that happened, even though I'm very conflicted on it. So
yeah, no, for sure. All
right, good use of the timeout, bro. That was a doozy.
Yeah, we needed that timeout for sure. We weren't gonna make it out of there alive, bro.
Also, shout out to the chat. Chat just really came up clutch. So
yeah, we got a couple
of the forest though.
Yeah, we got a couple things in the chat. Aaron Bowley says, "I built multiple homes in Southern Forest with my girlfriend, and we fended off many hordes of mutants." That's awesome. That's what we're talking about. You know. Not time for Elden Ring music yet. Okay.
All right. Well, we get a little bit of a reprieve here because it is, like people have said, It Takes Two is going to continue to make its way through the bracket naturally.
Yep.
Nobody Saves the World. Here, let me get the timer going, but I don't think we're gonna need it. Nobody Saves the World is great, and it deserves to be in the top 16. I don't think it makes it to the top 10. I think the thing about Nobody Saves the World that we felt was like you had this great synergy with the classes. And it made it so that it was like, it just was like an easy game to play.
Yeah.
But like the actual action, like the actual gameplay, like putting your fingers to the sticks was not super exciting. Like you're just kind of walking around and like letting your abilities do the thing.
Yeah.
And so that was like, it was almost more so the fun of it was the pre-game play and the planning and doing all that and the actual gameplay. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So,
yeah. No, I think that's fair. It's funny, like doing this bracket, like reminded me of just how special Nobody Saves the World was, and I do think had it been against another game, it might have made it further than even top 16, honestly, because I do feel like it had a lot of good stuff for it. But yeah, I mean, it takes two. Come on.
All right, let's do the next one. This was like an example of like an early example of two behemoths just clashing, bro. Clash of the freaking Titans right now.
Yeah. This is a tough one. This is a tough one. I mean, neither game really needs much of an intro. At this point, we're just debating. Oof. I don't know.
AC Donuts, getting my pitchfork ready. I do go, at the end of the day, I go Divinity. And it just goes back to, again, I've said this multiple times. Elden Ring, top 5 game of all time. Freaking loved it. So pumped for the DLC. But I just think, like, cooperatively, Divinity is the better game.
Yeah.
And Yeah, I think it's just what I go back to. I think Divinity Original Sin 2 is the better co-op game, and Elden Ring again, it just had so many issues because of. I mean, if we would have played the Elden Ring seamless co-op mod, I think it could be our favorite co-op game of all time. I genuinely believe that.
Yeah,
but we didn't. We didn't, and there were points where we were like genuinely frustrated. That I was like, man, we've got so much backtracking to do because of the way Souls games are set up in co-op.
No, I totally agree. Yeah, I got to give it to Divinity. I mean, I was leaning Divinity even when I first glanced at it. I do think it's yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's even like I think about even the co-op seamless mod, and even like pitting that against Divinity Original Sin 2. I don't know that it is a runaway race for Elden Ring.
No, I don't think it is either. I don't think it is. Yeah. But I think I'm saying if we did, I think it could make an argument for being our favorite co-op game of all time. But yeah, I like what Brandon Hatcher said. Which one is better with a friend? I think Divinity Original Sin 2 is better with a friend.
Oh yeah.
Whereas Elden Ring, like Jake said, you could play Elden Ring in one player mostly, and which we did. I think we probably played more of that game in single player than co-op. And I mean, I just think it's a testament to the whole experience. So yeah, totally. Divinity Original Sin 2 makes it into the top 8. All right, let's go to the other side of the bracket. Baldur's Gate 3: Tribes of Midgard.
That hurts.
I know. It's come to an end.
This
lasted as long as it could.
Yeah, this is top 16, right? Or what? Or these are
still in the top 16 right now. We're deciding the final 8.
Yeah, the final 8. Man, there's a part of me that wanted Tribes of Midgard on my top 8. I will say Tribes of Midgard on my list was number 10. So not that far away. We got a comment on the chat. Says it's hard. The Soul series is fun co-op. It's just a little annoying with all the little mechanics that make it tedious.
Yeah, that's totally true. For sure. And Elden Ring exasperated all those issues. So that's why it makes it harder.
Yeah. I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 is the obvious winner here. But and we've given Tribes of Midgard a couple flowers throughout, just because it is a game that's kind of hard to explain, and I don't know if that many people played it. I know that it was popular at launch, but I don't know how many people have stuck around to it or how many people know about it. I'd be curious if anyone in the chat has played Tribes of Midgard, and if
outside of Jake,
outside of Tasty Donut here, and if so, what do you think of it? But yeah, man, like super cool game. Like, I mean, let me put it this way: we've kind of been in a funny year with the channel where it's like, it's a slower year in terms of releases, and there's generally has been a couple moments, Andrew, where I've been like, I don't know, bro, dude, just go back and play some of those like later added content.
This bracket is convincing me to go back and play some of these games, dude. It's pretty wild.
No, that's exactly what I mean, dude. Like, there are some of these games I'm like, damn,
Tribes of Midgard is on the top of that list.
Yeah, no, 100%. All right.
All right, let's keep going.
Moving on.
We got Endless Dungeon versus Helldivers 2. This is, this is tough. I do think Helldivers 2.
This is kind of like a matchup between like a seasoned veteran and a rookie, But like the rookie is like you want to root for him,
Yeah. I get. Even though obviously not from the perspective of which one came out first or whatnot, but yeah.
No, for
Endless Dungeon is obviously just like it's a smaller game, a smaller experience. I think in the end, like, I just had more fun with Helldivers 2. Like, I think about Helldivers 2 all the time. I'm still playing Helldivers 2.
Yeah.
But Endless Dungeon is a game where I'm always like, yeah, I'm going to go back and play that at some point, right? Like, I have to go back and play Endless Dungeon again, Yeah,
for sure.
But
yeah, I mean, I gotta give it I gotta give it to Helldivers. Honestly, it was a little more contentious than I expected. Honestly, there's a chance there for Endless Dungeon, but I gotta give it to Helldivers. I think cooperative wise, it's just like there's so much to it, so much communication, so much of like
absolutely
like the drops, so much of just like the mission structure, and especially when you get to some of those harder difficulties, it's like, man, you are live and die by your team. So yeah.
But it's the same thing can be said of Helldivers 2 for sure. I mean, quite literally, you live and die by your team.
No, I was talking about Helldivers 2 that time. I don't know.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Yeah, you're good. So
yeah, it is super funny. Like, obviously, hindsight's 2020, but I just don't think even us who are so attuned to co-op games could never have predicted Helldivers 2. When we knew Helldivers 2 was going to be good, and we were very excited for it.
Yeah.
But like for it to be what it is just mind blowing.
Yeah, so much friendly fire. Teehee. So true.
Yeah, and playing out Helldivers 2 on your own is just like, oof, I don't like it. I just don't like it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I even like to play with randoms. I even the other day I played with a random, just another guy, just had such a great experience with him. He and I were just on the same page, and it was a classic. Like, we finished our mission, he sent me a GG, I sent him a GG, we hugged, and then we left. That was legitimately what happened. It's just like, bro, that's so freaking cool. Like, no other game does that.
No, yeah. I mean, honestly, playing Helldivers 2 by yourself is hell.
Yeah, that's a good point. Nailed it, bro. Nailed it.
Had it ready. All right, let's move on.
We're on to Monster Hunter World Deep Rock Galactic. Yeah, I mean, again, I can confidently say Monster Hunter World. I think this is where Deep Rock Galactic makes its surprise exit, which I think for some people is going to be like, what? Deep Rock Galactic? But it went up against Monster Hunter World. Monster Hunter World.
It's actually surprising how much it wasn't a competition to me. Like, it's just Monster Hunter World. It's just so good.
I think Deep Rock Galactic. The problem with Deep Rock Galactic, the reason I think we enjoyed it a lot, but kind of towards the end we were like, this is great, but like, it's not going above great. You know what I mean? Yeah, we were okay with finishing it because it doesn't have good long-term progression where it felt like to get to the point of where you felt like you've created some sort of progression in character, you would have to put in like 100+ hours.
Yeah.
Whereas like Monster Hunter World, like the like relationship you form with your weapon, with your team, with the freaking monsters that you're killing.
Yeah.
It's just like it's the same thing with Helldivers 2, where it's like its own little community and world that you want to, and again, no pun intended, that you want to like live in and be a part of just constantly. Whereas Deep Rock Galactic is similar to that, but like it just doesn't have that like real custom build progression that you need to like push it over the edge.
Yeah. No, totally agree. Yeah. Totally agree.
Right.
R.I.P.
Risk of Rain 2 and V Rising.
Oof. I didn't come into this one confident. Let me just put it that way.
This is a weird one. This is the really weird one.
Yeah.
I mean, I do go V Rising, but it is just like, man, it's Risk of Rain just kind of like snuck its way up this bracket, and I love it for it.
Yeah.
And I really want to go freaking play some Risk of Rain 2 right now. It's kind of wild.
I know. This is a tough one. Yeah, I don't know.
I think both of us have an issue with V Rising where we forget that like at the time when we were playing that, we absolutely fell head over heels for that game. Like, everything about it, we absolutely loved.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a little hard to remember where like it's coming out in a 1.0 in 2 days, and we're like, neither of us are like, yeah, let's go back and play V Rising, where it's like, right now, if you told me we were playing Risk of Rain 2 tomorrow, I'd be like, heck freaking yes, I'm all about that. But that's a difference of genres, so I don't know if that really plays a point here. But
no, for sure. Curious from the chat, another one from the chat. Throw down your votes. Not that it might sway my opinion, but I'm just curious.
I don't think a lot of the chat has probably played V Rising. Might be the problem there.
Yeah, that's a good point. But
I think from a co-op perspective too, like V Rising beats out Risk of Rain 2.
Yeah.
Risk of Rain 2 is very much like Hitstart Studios said, it's a play together game. Like you're not really communicating unless you die, and you just need to be picked up, or you're not building your character around each other. I mean, yes, there are different characters to play as, and that's cool, and you want to play as different people that have different strengths, but like, as opposed to like a Ship of Fools, you have to think about what your picks are in the run, whereas like in Risk of Rain 2, like you're just picking up whatever the frick falls out,
Yeah. No, that's a good point. You convinced me. I mean, I was a little on the fence, but I was leaning V Rising. I think you're right. I mean, I think between, building up your base, all the crafting stuff, having to like go out and craft, having very distinct builds, I don't know. Like I do think there's like a lot more to it. Yeah. So V Rising it is.
All right, dude. Here we are at the Elite 8. We have Dark Souls, Sons of the Forest, It Takes Two, Divinity Original Sin 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Helldivers 2, Monster Hunter World, and V Rising are in our top 8.
Yeesh. Dang, dude.
Wowzers.
That's pretty wild.
It's so weird because I do feel, other than one matchup, I do feel like it does get weirdly easier the more we go into this.
Yeah, that's
you know
fair.
what I mean.
Yeah.
There is one matchup on here that I am legitimately like scared of. I'm almost like, do you know what matchup I'm thinking of where we saved that for the last year? Let's just, what if we do this? Could we start with Baldur's Gate 3 and Helldivers 2 and then go in the opposite order that we've been going in?
Yeah, let's do that.
Because I feel like that last matchup is the one that's like, it's giving me a tizzy.
Yeah.
Okay, Baldur's Gate 3, Helldivers 2. This is a tizzy in and of itself. I do think like the easy answer is Baldur's Gate 3 for a lot of reasons. Like as good as Helldivers 2 does at making like not just fun, but also like you have to work together, you have to communicate, you have to plan your stratagems, you have to like communicate on like where to go in the mission next and all that. Like all that is there and good. There is like also the fact that it's pretty chaotic. You're killing each other sometimes. Like sometimes things just go crazy and you have to just sort of, you know, bull rush your way to the end. Whereas Baldur's Gate 3, it's like every decision has to be like so thought out.
Yeah.
Your battles, like you have to like restart the battle and be like, okay, well what if we position ourselves here and then you do this at this point and then I'll use this spell, and you're like thinking through all that, but you're not just thinking through all that.
It's like
in
insane
the combat,
levels of
also,
chess.
yeah, you're thinking through that in the combat and in the story. And it's like no other game does that other than the other game that was made by Larian Studios on this list. So
no, yeah, I mean, I gotta give it Baldur's Gate 3. It was a little more contentious than I expected. I said that before, but yeah, I just think there's just like that added layer of just like the story and just like also like your character, the role playing of it. Like just I don't think I've ever made such a detailed character than the one I made in Baldur's Gate 3. It's just like crazy to me. So I mean, Hatcher says I'm still with Helldivers 2 as a co-op. You know, no, I mean, I see it there for sure. I think to me, where Baldur's Gate 3 takes it is, and they're saying I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3 solo, and it's.
I do love this point by Brandon because we've talked about this. Like we never end up making a Baldur's. Do we use a timeout here?
Yeah, let's use a timeout here.
Let's use a timeout. I agree.
Yeah.
I wish we had a whistle sound effect for like a timeout.
I know.
I think it's a great point. I'm really glad you brought this up, Brandon Hatcher, where it's like. One of our big things when we were playing Baldur's Gate 3, like the issue was that there were times where we thought this would be more fun if we were doing a solo campaign. Not more fun, but you might get more out of a solo campaign than a co-op campaign from like a story perspective and making sure you're doing all the side quests. Where when we were playing co-op, it kind of felt like, are we missing out on parts of this game? Because there's just so much more. It's harder to get everything done in a co-op campaign, right? We've talked about that.
Yeah. No, I think that it's I think that it's a point, but I actually, weirdly enough, think that's actually like a positive towards Baldur's Gate 3, because I do think it's almost like playing solo and playing co-op. Like, honestly, feel like two different experiences. You know.
That's true. Yeah, you essentially get two games out of it.
Yeah, and I do think that's like kind of like a positive towards it. We got Aaron Bowling says, I stopped Baldur's Gate 3 in the last chapter because I was like, man, this story and these decisions would be way more fun and intense with a friend or 2 or 3. No, yeah, that's a very good point too. Yeah, I mean, I'm still Baldur's Gate 3, and I think it is just like those moments when it comes to like the story, and just like I think one of the things is like everyone has like their moment to shine, you know, like multiple moments to shine, you know, like a lot of moments for me of like, Gabe, like we need you to like, you know, talk this guy out of this thing with the charisma stuff, you know, or how many times did your character come in super clutch because they were like super intimidating to people and stuff like that. And I just thought that was cool. Like you don't get that in every
Little Amelia.
Yeah, Little Amelia. You don't get that in a lot of games type of thing. And I think Helldivers 2 does a good job of like, again, like everyone has a role and all that stuff. But Baldur's Gate 3 kind of forces that upon you, honestly. Like you just like like people have to like make decisions, and I think that's really cool. All
right, let's go Baldur's Gate 3 there.
Yeah.
All right, let's I mean, the next one's Monster Hunter World V Rising. I think we both know it's Monster Hunter World.
Yeah, that's Monster Hunter World.
Monster Hunter World is a game that, as a game, is so good. And you also can play it in co-op. and it's just gonna keep going until it hits that roadblock of like we finally admit like as good as Monster Hunter World is, its co-op mechanics like aren't quite there, which I think is gonna happen in the next round. But like it's still now at this point like yes, Monster Hunter World over V Rising. You know what I mean? Like it's still able to just like essentially bull rush its way all the way up to the top 4, which is pretty funny. But
yep,
I mean that's what's happening. So
yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing was Monster Hunter World. It's just like it feels so good to play, and it's just like so much fun. Like when we're just chasing,
and it makes it easy to play with your friends too, and that's a huge part of it.
Yep. No,
you just you hop in, you hunt a monster.
Yep.
Bada bing, bada boom. You know.
That's right. All right, so now we're going. Where are we going?
Dark Souls, Sons of the Forest.
Okay, got it. This is interesting.
I mean, yeah, this one I'm still like, okay, this is Dark Souls here. Yeah, I think Dark Souls in a lot of ways beats Sons of the Forest actually. I was expecting Dark Souls to get to the point where we're like, well, it is Dark Souls, it's got its issues, but I feel like when you put it up against Sons of the Forest, it's like, no, I do definitely go Dark Souls, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree. I go Dark Souls as well.
It's the same as Monster Hunter where it hasn't hit that wall of like, okay, let's really look at its problems. You know what I mean? Like we're not there yet with it.
No, definitely not. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, it just has more going on with it than Sons of the Forest, and even though it is a Souls-like, and some of them again, things was co-op aren't always perfect, but like the build diversity and everything, I don't know, it just kind of goes further there. So
yeah, for sure.
Beyond the nostalgia, obviously.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying is I think both Monster Hunter World and Dark Souls haven't hit the we're carrying it through nostalgia yet. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like I think they will in the next round once we get to the top 4. But like genuinely, I just think Dark Souls over Sons of the Forest.
Yep.
All right. Now this was the matchup that I was scared of.
Yeah. This is
getting funky, folks, because we got It Takes Two and Divinity Original Sin 2. I genuinely do not know what we're gonna do here. This is getting freaking funky, bro. I think if I did, you talk for a second. You talk.
Yeah, It Takes Two versus Divinity Original Sin 2. It's tough. Again, like It Takes Two, right? It's legendary.
Yes. Everybody thinks of It Takes Two when they think of the best co-op game of all time. I mean, we've literally gotten comments all night about that.
Yep. HBR Shredder says Dark Souls is the only game to receive the Ultimate Game of All Time award from the Golden Joysticks in 2021. That, you know, that's an argument there. Yeah, this is a tough one because it's like I do feel like I have to put aside some of my biases to look at this one, right? Where it's like, you know, and maybe I speak for both of us, where it's like we are more RPG people. We love RPGs
for sure,
and we're kind of lean towards that. But frick, dude.
I mean, honestly, if I go with my gut, I do go Divinity Original Sin 2. But then I think like It Takes Two It Takes Two is the co-op game. Like it's the co-op game.
Yeah.
We got people in the chat going both ways.
Yeah, we got both ways. It's a war.
Dude, if Tasty shows up in the chat, he's going to pop off for Divinity Original Sin 2.
That's true. How much time we got on the timer right now, bro?
20 seconds.
Okay. I mean, we gotta use these as we got them, bro. I mean, I'd
say we go timeout here.
Yeah, we had a rule: if we ran out of timeouts, like this, stream ends. Did we say that?
No, that's not how. HPR Shredder is right. This is your list. That's
oof. Is everyone
Mr.
listening
Wardy
to this music right now? Because this is like, it's fitting the moment so well.
I know, it really is.
Like, I'm just like...
But also just like, think of like the greater... Tasty said I could concede and be fine?
Oof.
Oh my gosh, bro. Slaps. It does slap. Ah! Okay, but bro, look at the future of the bracket. Are we gonna have Divinity Original Sin 2 versus Baldur's Gate 3 as our finals?
I don't know, dude.
That could be happening, and I don't know if that's a good. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm so conflicted.
Yeah. Okay. I gotta go. I mean, It Takes Two started to win me over a little bit. Like,
How so?
I think, man, when I think back to it though, like just all the switch ups in the gameplay, and like again, you have to play it co-op, and it found just all these ingenious ways to kind of work. It's weird because Divinity Original Sin 2 is like more present in my mind than It Takes Two, and that's why it's kind of a little hard as well. But yeah, I don't know. Fuck, I don't know, man. I'm really on the cusp, actually. It's kind of tough. Like, It Takes Two started to win me over a little bit. It honestly does surprisingly has a good story. Like, towards the end, I was like actually like getting a little
misty. Yeah, I really liked it too. I know not everybody liked it. I liked the It Takes Two story a lot. But obviously, if you're thinking of story, you go Divinity, dude. The story of Divinity is a freaking masterpiece.
Yeah. Dang, dude.
I think I go It Takes Two. It's so tough. It's so freaking tough.
Yeah.
We're at the point where these 5 games that are left could any day of the week you could name any one of them as the number one. You really could. Like you at any point I could be like Monster Hunter World is my favorite co-op game of all time. Dark Souls is. I could go with any 5 of these. That's why it's just like this is the point we needed to get to where these were the 5 games left. You know what I mean? And now it just gets so hard.
Yeah. No, for sure. I do think, I do go It Takes Two. Definitively, I do go It Takes Two. Do you have? Well, how do you feel?
Let's do it.
How do you feel?
I'm not definitive on it, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
It is so close. It is so close. Because again, I genuinely think like I could argue that Divinity Original Sin 2 is the number 1 co-op game we've ever played. So that's where it's like, dang, this is so hard.
I know.
But I do think It Takes Two, like, if it has so many. You know, you got local, you got online, you got the friend pass, like all that too. Of course, also Divinity Original Sin 2, local, online, combo co-op.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go It Takes Two, and I'm trying. Let's just move on because I'm gonna overthink it.
Yep. Jake says these are your top 5 seeds.
This was my top 5.
I think this is my top 5 for sure. We got Aaron Ballard says, I think if you really dig into what a cooperative game is versus multiplayer, yeah. No, that's fair. I mean, I would say I genuinely would give a very strong argument for the top 8 being like cooperative games.
Monster Hunter World is the only one that I think they're all co-op games, but Monster Hunter World is the one in the top 4 where I look at it. Let's go Baldur's Gate 3 versus Monster Hunter World to start off, I think, here.
Okay.
And I do go like Monster Hunter World to me. I know Jake said I want Monster Hunter. I think it's the one that I can rule Baldur's Gate 3 over that, because this is where finally it's like, okay, let's talk about it. Monster Hunter. I need to start the timer. I did start the timer actually. Yeah. Monster Hunter World, like it's not. Actually, I don't know. I think the timer's all off right now. I'm just gonna put it at 1:45. It has issues as a co-op game from the perspective of like there's no buffs, there's no debuffs, there's like a little bit of healing.
Not like interacting as much.
When you are playing Monster Hunter World, you're not really thinking about what person B is doing and their destruction of the monster versus what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like you can go on autopilot. And I think that's really important.
I would say most of that. I would agree with like maybe 80% of that, because I do think there's a little bit of an interaction between like, hey, I'm Christian. I'm gonna I'm a hammer build, and I'm gonna knock down the monster. I'm going in for a big hit type of thing, or like, hey, I'm Gabe and Andrew. We're going for the tail type of thing, you know. So I don't think that is all the way to like, yeah, you're playing just like your own little mini game and no one else. But like, I do think there is some parts of it of like, hey, or like, hey, I'm gonna set up like an item over here, a trap kind of thing, contraption, lure the monster this way. So I do think there's some aspects to that.
Mr. Wardy makes a good point. We chose to put Monster Hunter World in here over Rise, even though the co-op is clunky in Monster Hunter World. They hadn't quite figured that out yet. But honestly, if you want to make that argument, Baldur's Gate 3 did have issues with the co-op where like sometimes things like wouldn't work the way we thought they should.
Yeah.
And that did happen to us. I think in order to not use our timeout here, we got 15 seconds left. I go Baldur's Gate 3 here, and I feel good about it.
Yeah, I do go Baldur's Gate 3 overall. I was curious to hear your argument, but I was like mostly decided. I do think it's another part of that, like the Baldur's Gate 3 story aspect is just like too powerful, you know. Now, honestly, I think Monster Hunter Wilds could have a stab against Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, because I agree. I am very interested to see where that falls, like in our co-op all time and like our personal all time. It's like that level of hype for me.
Yeah, because then I think you're talking about a game that's like you're playing sort of this like you know, live D&D campaign versus a game that maybe feels really alive. Like I think Baldur's Gate 3, I wouldn't say the game doesn't feel alive, but like, you know, NPCs are like on a prescribed sort of like path and stuff like that. Whereas it's like if you Monster Hunter World really felt alive, and I felt like it was pretty ahead of its time. And I think Monster Hunter Wilds could like take that to the next level, like a whole habitat that feels like totally immersive. Like that could be really cool. Tasty said, I like playing Monster Hunter with friends better than Baldur's Gate, similar to how I feel about Elden Ring.
Yeah, I get that for sure.
Yeah. So. Okay,
here we go. Dark Souls versus It Takes Two. Ay caramba.
Yeah, this is tough.
This is an interesting matchup to where you have like It Takes Two does all the co-op systems right. Like you got the local, you got the online, you got the friend pass. It's so easy to play together. You got the shared progression. You got all of that is so perfectly laid out for you. Whereas Dark Souls is obviously so obtuse when it comes to co-op. Like it genuinely makes it hard to play together at certain points.
Yep.
But obviously then Dark Souls, like there's the builds, there's the discovering of the world, there's the bosses, there's the story and the lore that you kind of like. I remember when we were playing it, like we were discovering at the same time together, and that was really cool.
Yes.
Yeah, this is tough. I feel like this is the tougher matchup in the top four is these two.
Yeah, it is tough. I do think there is one aspect of it that I can't get over though, which is it's the classic Souls aspect. I think this is where it comes to a head to me, which is that like we had to play everything twice.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
That's where it comes to a head to me. But like,
I remember when we went back and played Dark Souls Remastered, we were surprised at how annoyed we were.
Yes.
With those obtuse systems, which I think we just kind of forgot about from when we played it in high school.
I know. There's like a part of me that's like wanting like Dark Souls to make it, and it'd be like, that's interesting. But again, I'm trying to look at it. It's our list, so I'm allowed to like bring in our bias and our nostalgia to it. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough. It is crazy. How far did Elden Ring make it into this list? I'm kind of surprised about that too. Elden Ring did not make it as far as I thought it would. But again,
it was top 16. I think that's where it belongs personally. But
yeah. Mr. Wordy says, I think the user experience makes Dark Souls much worse. If it's harder to get in with your friends, then it just sucks. No, I mean, that's a valid argument for sure.
I do think I go It Takes Two here, weirdly, because I barely let It Takes Two get past Divinity Original Sin 2, but I do think It Takes Two.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that HPR shredder. I mean, you're not wrong, man. You're not wrong.
He goes like, oh no, I had to play the best game I've ever made more than once. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, here's a funny fact. I mean, Dark Souls is the game we've played the most in this list by a large margin. Like we've played, like I think there was a point where we
played like 200 plus hours in high school. Then we also played it again in remastered.
Yeah, I mean, in high school, I think we were like at New Game plus 5 or something.
Yeah, like, no, we were at a ridiculous amount of replays in high school. It was comical.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. So.
I never understood the second half of Dark Souls stuff. I just didn't really ever feel that whenever I played. I don't know why. I mean, I agree that the first half is better.
Or a negative, Jake?
No, like everybody always says the second half of Dark Souls is not good, or like not good, but like not as good as the first. And I guess I agree with that. Like I do think the first half is better, but I never really felt like, oh man, the second half of Dark Souls. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I know that obviously, Tasty, you're not saying that like super seriously, but that is an argument that exists, and I just like never felt very passionate about it. You know, I just think it's like, oh yeah, I mean, the first half's better, but like, I don't know, it's all really good. You know?
Yeah.
But
no, for sure.
That's a whole nother conversation for another day. We got to get to the championship here.
Yeah, here we go. All right, before we get to this, I gotta find a song. You know, not there's like one track of It Takes Two on this playlist just because it really wasn't very good. I mean, it was good, but not good for the stream.
Yeah, it doesn't fit.
Let's see. I think this is.
Bro, I'm sitting crisscross applesauce, fully engaged at this point.
Yeah, no, same.
This final 5 has we've said it before. It was a bloodbath, dude. It was Clash of the Titans.
I'm getting goosebumps just listening to the song right now.
Yeah.
The main theme part 3, dude. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's so weird because it's like you look at these 2 games, It Takes Two and Baldur's Gate 3, and it's like, yeah, Baldur's Gate 3. Every time we'd play it, we would leave being like, "Dang, dude, this is such a freaking video game." But there was also times with Baldur's Gate 3 where it was like, you know, you ran up against some like issues where it like something didn't work the way you expected. You had to redo a battle 3 or 4 times, and but somehow all of that, by the time you were done playing for the night, you would kind of forget about it. You would just be like, "No, I just left playing one of the best games I've ever played." And then you got It Takes Two, where it's like when we were playing that, I think we knew that this was a fantastic co-op game, but I don't think we realized in that moment as we were playing it that we were playing what many consider to be the best co-op game of all time. You know what I mean? Like it's a weird thought, but it's what I'm thinking about right now.
Yeah. Well, here's some more context on this, right? So I remember, if you remember right, we played It Takes Two. We also got keys for that game early. It was probably one of the biggest wins we've gotten out of the channel. The fact that we got
that was a huge moment for us.
Like total Pogger popping off moment.
We were only like 10 to 15,000 subscribers at the time.
Yeah, so that was crazy. So we were playing it like again ahead of time, and we were also just cruising through this freaking game to try to like get a review out. And even then, I felt like we still had such a good time.
Yeah, for sure. I can't think of any low moments during It Takes Two. You know what I mean?
No, definitely not. Yeah. I mean, it had some really cool stuff. I mean, remember the music scene with the disco and everything? Like, that was freaking awesome.
Yeah, remember when you turn into an ARP, a top-down action game? That was so freaking cool. Yeah. That's one of my favorite parts. Or, like, even like the little ones, like when you got... Remember, like, the dinosaur puzzle level? That one was so cool. You remember that one?
No, I didn't.
It was just like a tiny little part of it that was like, that was really cool.
Or remember the galaxy level where it's like all the galaxy and like
the galaxy with the where you were big and I was little and we like switched back and forth, and
that was really
cool.
That said, I do think, man, I don't know. There's some really cool moments in Baldur's Gate 3.
There were so many times where it's just like goosebumps, bro. But there was goosebumps in It Takes Two the entire way.
Yeah.
It was constant goosebumps. But Baldur's Gate 3, man, like there were some freaking highs in that game, man.
Yeah, I mean, just from the start, right? When we could, like, one of my favorite early moments was like when we convinced the ogres, remember? And I was convinced that I was like, so cool. Oh, I have to like transform into an ogre lady to go and like talk to them. And I don't even think that was a part of it, but we just laughed about it because it was just so funny. And there's just so many things that like we didn't think would work the way it would, and then it does, and you're like, oh my god, that did work, type of thing. Like, oh man, it's just so cool. And so many times where we kind of like almost felt like ahead of the story, and then we go talk to somebody and they'd be like, oh yeah, we already did that. Like that was really neat. All of Shadowheart stuff I really loved. Like, yeah, I don't know, I just felt like there's some real palpable moments in that where like it felt like D&D, where it's like, damn, I have to roll the dice on this. I have to convince this guy, and it's up to me. Or like you have those moments too, where it's like you're the last man standing in the fight, or else we got to restart.
Amelia, baby,
like, frick, dude, we need you, type of thing. You know? Yeah. There's so many of those moments, and those are so hyped. So, yeah, dude, this is tough. But I mean, one game has to make it. I already used a timeout on it, you know, because it's like,
yeah, I didn't start the timer, dude.
Yeah, it's like auto timeout.
I'm gonna start a 2-minute timer here.
I mean, while we're hashing it out, throw out the votes in the chat, people.
Yeah, where's the chat right now? We know that a lot of you played both of these games, so we need the chat right now, dude. Yeah.
I don't know. Where are you leaning, bro? Where are you leaning?
The other thing that makes me lean Baldur's Gate 3 is that you can't even make the argument where like, yeah, it beat out Dark Souls over like the It Takes Two has all those things taken care of like local, online, friend pass. Baldur's Gate 3 also has local, online, combo co-op. They even fixed the whole issue with like, if we wanted to, we could have someone join us in the middle of the campaign and play with us, and then we could just kind of kick them out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like...
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. A lot
of people saying it takes two, bro. A lot of people saying it takes two.
I think I know what I pick. So
I think I do too. The chat might not like it though.
Yeah, I'm decided. All right, what's yours?
I think it's Baldur's Gate 3. It's our pick. I know that, like, I think who said it? I mean, all you guys have been saying great stuff, but it was tasty. Better game versus better co-op game, and I get that. That is, I think that's true. I think that is true, but at the end of the day, this is our favorite co-op games of all time, and that's why I think it's Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, I will say, I think It Takes Two, but I don't know. I don't totally agree with that. I don't totally think that, like, Baldur's Gate 3 isn't, like, an amazing co-op game. It's D&D. D&D
no, of course.
is
No, I'm not
meant
saying
to be played together, you know? And it's like, it nails that. So that to me is, like, why it's hard for me to, like, not pick it too. But again,
I like Aaron, your comment. BG3 has won enough words already.
That is a good one. I mean, honestly though, whenever It Takes Two fucking cleaned house, like, it won a ton of awards.
I mean, it won Game of the Year awards. These are two Game of the Years going up against each other.
Yep. Yeah. So, all right. I think it's Baldur's Gate 3 though. I think that's what we've decided.
Look at that. Look at that top.
I like what HBR Shredder said, which said he can hear it in our voice that it's Baldur's Gate 3.
That top 5 is legendary.
Yeah.
Divinity Original Sin 2, Monster Hunter World, freaking Dark Souls, I consider to be the best game ever made.
Yep.
It Takes Two, and Baldur's Gate 3. Like, what a freaking legendary top 5. I love it. Just makes me so happy.
Yeah, this is good.
Brandon, I would say Baldur's Gate 3 is the one that would keep me up at night.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, as we're closing out here, let's take a lap. And then we'll talk about our consecutive lists, and then we can kind of close out the stream. I know we went a little over, but man, thank you so much for those of you that came back after our technical issues, or those of you that just kind of stuck around. It truly has been such a blast, and honestly, super bummed out that you didn't get to see my face during this. I'll be having a chat with the folks at Razer, but really appreciate you guys sticking with it. Now do double a limb. Okay. That'd be wild, right? Mr. Wardy says, have you guys got a link to this? I want to see where my rankies land. Yeah, I mean, I think we can. I know that we put a link to the what's it called? To the bracket. I don't know if you could go through it yourself. I'll see if I can do that for people though, because that would be fun, and you can kind of see where you could kind of go. Any big surprises, bro? I mean, for me, definitely seeing Ship of Fools go as far as it did was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think my big surprises were Sons of the Forest.
Yep.
Beating out Remnant 2 to make it in the top 16.
Yep.
The early surprises were obviously Gotham Knights made it to the top 32. Yep. I love that.
Yeah, I thought that was really funny.
Risk of Rain 2 beating out Diablo 4.
Yeah.
That was impressive. Almost beat out V Rising to make it to the top 8. That was surprising.
Yep.
Tries
to make in the end, that was like, I don't know if I would have put that like. I wonder where did I put Destiny 2 on my list? I'm gonna look it up real quick. But what were you saying?
Yeah, I'm just my top 5 was the top 5 that were here, but my order would be different. Do you want to start going over that?
Yeah, my top 5 were Baldur's Gate 3, It Takes Two, Dark Souls, Monster Hunter World, and V Rising.
Wow, so you didn't have Divinity Original Sin 2 in your top 5.
That was my top 6, yeah. I think I did. Yeah, I guess I did put V Rising over Divinity Original Sin 2.
My top 5
differently
were,
about that now, but yeah.
Dark Souls, Monster Hunter World, Baldur's Gate 3, Divinity Original Sin 2, and It Takes Two.
Yeah.
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 Here, while we're at it, let's just do top 10. My 6th would have been Helldivers 2, and this is why this kind of blew my mind. My 7th was Remnant 2.
Oh wow.
8 was V Rising, 9 was Endless Dungeon, and 10 was Ship of Fools.
Oh wow. Ship of Fools made it super far in yours. You know, Destiny 2 made it pretty far 10. In mine. Destiny 2 was number 9, which is kind of surprising to think about.
Destiny 2 is my 27th.
Wow, yeah. My number 6 was Divinity Original Sin 2. 7 was Helldivers. 8 was Sons of the Forest. 9 was Destiny 2. 10 was Tribes of Midgard.
Yeah, Tribes of Midgard. Now, when I think back on it, deserves to be higher, but I had it at 22. And in hindsight, I would have liked to have put it higher.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, I think I probably would have put Destiny 2 lower. I think I was maybe lumping it with like Destiny 1 in some ways. But yeah, Endless Dungeon was number 16 for me. Ember Knights was 17. My last game was Gotham Knights. Or no, Gotham Knights. Gotham Knights was honestly
Gotham Knights was 64 for you.
No, Gotham Knights was not 64. Gotham Knights was higher than that. Gotham Knights was 42.
Gotham Knights was 29 for me.
Oh wow, yeah. My last one.
Okay, what was your 64th game? Because I love that.
Content warning.
That's funny. Mine was Star Wars Battlefront 2.
I remember I was like, I saw that on this list and I was like, I don't know if I can make that on there. Yeah,
because we played a lot of that co-op mode in it, but obviously it's mostly a PvP game.
Yeah, exactly. Like actually, Content Warning beat out like WarioWare Get It Together. Or like
WarioWare Get It Together was my 63rd.
Yeah, like WarioWare didn't make it, Frozen Flame didn't make it, Payday 3 didn't make it, Lords of the Fallen didn't make it. Super Mario 3D World did not make my 64 actually. But that's
I knew it wouldn't, but I had it up there
against it, so that's just my.
Yes, you do. I had it at 31, so I knew it would make it just based off of me.
Moving Out 2 did not make it. I gave flowers for Disney Illusion Island. Actually, let's see, where did I put Disney Illusion Island?
It was 36 for me.
Mine was 37.
Wow, nice.
Totally in sync. Yeah, there's a lot of these. Anthem obviously didn't make it. Yeah, I felt pretty good about the games that didn't make it. So yeah, it was super fun. This is awesome. I like Aaron Bowley's comment. Okay, so we need It Takes Two with D&D rules. That's right. Yeah, It Takes Three with D&D rules.
You know what's funny is I thought that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle and Gotham Knights matchup, I was surprised that I went with Gotham Knights, but I have Gotham Knights 29th and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 30th. So I actually had them in that order. I think that's pretty funny.
That is really funny. Yeah, I had TMNT Freddy's Revenge at 39, above Escape Academy, below Outriders. So yeah, Ship of Fools was my 24. Yeah, like Nobody Saves the World was 23. Spelunky actually pretty made it pretty far. That was my 21st game.
That was my 25.
Yeah.
I went by what we gave them on GG. So like at the time we gave Outriders a 4.5, so it's my 17th, and we gave Ship of Fools a 4.5, so it's my 10th.
I didn't do that specifically because, but I this is how I think of it. Where it's like, was GG, I don't always consider it like I think of it like, if I gave a game on GG, I don't always think about it just purely on co-op, because it's like, even though even if I did play it only on co-op, but I kind of am like, I don't know, I feel like when we review a game for the channel, we're only thinking it on co-op, and so some of these games, I don't know if I probably would score better just purely on co-op, but worse if I'm thinking about the whole game holistically. So there's that part of it. But yeah, so. But cool, dude.
Yeah, I'm super pumped about now taking this bracket and making a list video out of it, because I think it did a really good job of, we rated these in very different ways. Yeah. And I think it would have been hard to sort of distinguish that, but now it's like, well, we've done it for ourselves. Because I obviously I had Ship of Fools high, but you didn't, and it's like, oh, you kind of realized too that like, oh yeah, Ship of Fools deserves to be up there. And same thing with Tribes of Midgard, where it's like, once you kind of told me like, Tribes of Midgard is my top 10. I was like, wait, why is Tribes of Midgard not higher for me? So it was like, it was really good for us to do this and be like, oh yeah, that's why, so-and-so game is as high as it is. You know what I mean? I think that was really helpful for us.
For sure. Yeah.
Going into, this eventual video that we're going to make off of that.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many layers to this, because it's like, there's obviously the recency bias of some of these games. There's the nostalgia bias of it. But I think we did a pretty good job to really think about it critically of like, okay, what is the better co-op game though? So I'm proud of us. But like Hitstar Studio said, great bracket overall. Love the discussions. I agree. I think they're super great discussions, and we would not have been able to have that if it wasn't for you fine folks tuning in.
Seriously, thank you so much for watching and getting through all of everything that we did. I mean, that was like almost 4-hour experience.
Yeah.
So
no, totally. And I mean, like Andrew said earlier, we're like super looking forward to this. So I can't thank you enough for tuning in and keeping us company and being excited about it, especially through the technical issues, because that was a bummer. So the fact that you kind of showed up and you guys were chatting and everything was awesome.
It means a lot for sure.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. 5 years of the channel, pretty awesome. So kind of keep on trucking. So yeah,
we'll do it again in 5 years.
That's right. We'll do it again in another 5 years when we're grandpas.
Yeah, I mentioned this when you were dealing with the technical issues, but coming up on the channel, we have a Grand Blue review after the Grand Blue how-to. I'll be taking care of that, and then we're going to take this bracket and make a list video out of it. And actually, yeah, Malik, that's funny you mentioned that. We so Patreon plug. You brought it up, so I'll go for it. Well, part of the reason we did the Steam top 10 co-op games is because we put a vote on our Patreon. Would you rather have us do that for the PS5 and do it as like a best top 10 co-op games for PS5 so far, or do you want us to do a top 10 co-op games on Steam? So our Patreons voted for it to be on Steam. That's why we did that. Not to say we won't ever do the PlayStation 1. I could definitely see it happening in the next few months. But yeah, cool little Patreon plug there. We are loving our Patreon. We love like the participation we're getting from the people in there. So, you know, a couple of you guys that have been in this chat are in the Patreon, and we really appreciate you.
Totally.
And yeah, we're looking in the next month. We're about to hit 6 months of doing the Patreon, and I feel like in 6 months we've already learned a lot from it. So we're looking to potentially improve it in the next month, and we're really excited for that. And yeah, lots of content, lots of games to play. We kind of hit a little bit of a lull here in co-op games, but as the month of May kind of hits the second half, we have plenty to play. We're very excited to cover some new games, some old games. That's also a shout out to the Patreon, because they voted on an old game for us to play, and we're really excited for that one. You guys picked a good one for us.
Yeah, seriously.
One that I think would be on this top 64 had we played it when it came out. So
I agree. Yeah, and we're going to be doing more streams, which will be nice. We took a little break from streaming just because we were playing Enshrouded, and that didn't really work well. And then, so we're going to get back to streaming, which will be fun. So again, thanks again for tuning into something like this. We'll keep on doing it. So, all right, I think that's everything from us.
That's everything from us.
Cool. All right, well, guys, thanks so much. We'll catch you on the next stream.
Bye,
Good
guys.
night. Peace.
Peace out.